What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers, and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC Vegas 93. We have Tatsuro Taira going against Alex Perez, and we are back in the Apex, and it feels like it's been a while. We had the Louisville card, we had the card in New Jersey, and yeah, we're back in the Apex, and I'm actually looking forward to this card, man. I've had to kind of circle because it has some of my favorite fighters on it. It has Westin Wilson, poor Westin Wilson. It has Jimmy the Brick Flick. You have some fun fighters on here, like Antonio Tricali's he's a fighter that's going to be fighting. And yeah, I'm seriously looking forward to this card. If you like violence, I think we're going to get some violence on this card. The last two cards didn't have a ton of violence. Those prelims last night had no violence. The main card did. The main card definitely helped, but yeah, there hasn't been a lot of violence these last 2 weeks, but I think this is a card that's going to produce a ton of that. As always, I am here with your Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is up? Are you looking forward to UFC Vegas 93?
I am. I like this card. I like last card from a fan perspective a lot. I think a lot of those fights actually really did live up to what they were supposed to be. And I think that this one's kind of low key, pretty good. I think there's some fun matchmaking. Like you said, Westin Wilson fight week. But we've got a couple of really interesting flyweight matchups here with Alex Perez and Tatsuro Taira. We've got Tagir Ulanbekov and Josh Van. I can't wait to talk about that fight. And then, like you said, guys like Jimmy Flick, guys like Jose Johnson, who, when he's entertaining enough, just doing his normal thing, how about him cutting down to 125 so that he could potentially set us up for the first death in the cage? Because this guy, he hits so hard, Brady, that if he lands clean at 125, we might be looking at a prayer circle over whoever it is that he lands on. I don't know how the hell any doctor that actually is planning on keeping their license could have sanctioned this dude cutting down to 125 pounds at 6 feet tall. I don't know. It's crazy, but that's going to be a fun fight because you have that little extra narrative thing in there. You got Antonio Tricali fighting Ikram Aliskerov in what could be one of the most one-sided fights that we've seen in the promotion even this year. I mean, I'm even talking about Brito versus poor Westin Wilson, which is, going to go off at a similar line to what that fight went off on. Josefine Knutsson is a really good prospect, as is Julia Polarstri. I'm looking forward to talking about that fight. Yeah, this is a good card, man. I'm fired up for it. So let's break it down.
Yeah, I'm fired up as well. I was up late last night watching tape on Westin Wilson, Jimmy Flick. It was a fun time. By the way, over under 2.5 on how many hoes Jose Johnson is bringing into the Apex. Last time I think he had 2. What do you think?
He had 2. I think he had 2 last time, and I think maybe it would be under because when you're looking at Jose, it's going to be quality hoes.
Okay.
Not necessarily quality women, Brady, but quality hoes. If you're looking to make a rap video, chances are the ladies with Jose Johnson are going to be the first ones that you ask. And he's got swagger. He's got serious power for bantamweight. It's going to be at flyweight, and he's going up against an absolute killer in Almabaev. So, yeah, this is a great card, dude. This is pretty good for an Apex card and a couple of really compelling flyweight fights.
Yep, I love it. Mushroom taking the over 2.5 hose. I was thinking about maybe hitting the over, but like Weezy said, it's quality over quantity, and Jose Johnson seems like a quality type of guy. So before we get into more of the chat, first of all, thank you guys for stopping by. If you guys could like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you guys are watching on the replay, leave a comment. You guys have been killing it in the comment section. It really helps out with the show, really helps gain reach as well. So please be sure to comment, preferably a positive one. But if you have to comment a negative one, that's fine as well. So yeah, last night we'll do a quick recap. Yeah, the prelims sucked. The prelims absolutely sucked, but man, that main card was good. That was probably one of my favorite main cards of the year. I believe, was the Soriano Baeza fight on the main card or the prelims?
I think that's the last of the prelims. If I'm not mistaken.
That's what I thought. Then every fight on the main card finished. Zach Reese, Sarge, Julian Marquez. Bruno Ferrer with the spinning back elbow. We had Raul Rosas Jr. with the rear naked choke. We had Dominic Reyes get a knockout. And then we had a questionable stoppage, but a knockout for Nasruddin Imavov in the 4th round. So that entire main card certainly made up for these really lackluster prelims, where the only finish was that Carlos Prates knee to the body against Charles Rackie. So for me, last night I kept it as light as possible. I just wanted nothing to do with the card. Didn't have a great feel on it on a lot of these fights. A lot of these fights kind of sketched me out. And my night pretty much came down to the Reese fight and the Prates fight finishing inside the distance. I had the fight doesn't go decision parlayed for both of those, which, by the way, Weezy, it was my 4th tracked parlay of the year, and it was my 3rd hit of the year. I'm 3 for 4 on tracked parlays. That's 75%. It's pretty good. So maybe I'll continue doing parlays in the future. But I really like that one. That was one we talked about on probability. I believe you bet it as well. And it was no sweat. Prates knocked Rackie out with the knee to the body in the 1st, and then Reese slumped Marquez with an uppercut in the first 20 seconds. So yeah, other than that, didn't have a ton of action. My most concerning bet of the night, if you will, was on Rayan dos Santos to win inside the distance, plus 175. My thinking was, and maybe it was silly to think this, but I thought dos Santos would try to take it down to the mat and maybe attack the ground game here against Tumar, who's been finishing all 4 of her losses, all 4 inside the distance, 3 by sub and 1 by TKO. But the game plan was the complete opposite of that. So, yeah, sometimes you just go, what are you thinking? What are you thinking, Rayan dos Santos? Why go out there and give Fugitt Tumar her best path to victory instead of trying to go out there and take her down? She did shoot, it said 4 takedowns, but 3 were kind of half-ass. She shot 1 solid takedown, but that was about it. So that took years off my life. And then the other bets I had. So actually, I like these bets. These bets did not come through, but I love the read. So me and you talked about it on Stat Tickers. We were going to wait to see the weigh-ins for Eduardo Mara, Denise Gomes. Eduardo Mara misses weight by half a pound. She looks terrible on the scales. And then I add these Denise Gomes finish props because I thought that and Mortawara, she cuts a ton of weight. She's going to slow down as the fight goes on. And exactly that happened. She was huffing and puffing after the first 5 minutes. So I sprinkled the Denise Gomes KO in the sub. The KO was plus 470. The sub was plus 2,000. And Denise Gomes almost gets a submission in the first 60 seconds. It's a very tight guillotine. I thought she was going to get it. It was it was tight, but Mara was able to get out of it. And then there was like another submission attempt or 2 in the 2nd or 3rd round. I thought for sure at least one of those finish props are going to hit, considering Mara was completely done after those first 5 minutes. So yeah, I like the bets. I mean, plus 2,000 for the sub, it was right there, but at the end of the day, it did not hit. But yeah, so that one kind of stung. And then I also had prop sprinkles on Julian Marquez round 2, round 3, which did also not come through. I was going to bet the Marquez money line. Like many sharp people were on Marquez, and I could see why. There were a ton of reasons to like him. I just had a bad feeling about that fight in the back of the head, in my head. The line wasn't moving, and ended up pretty bad. Marquez got slept brutally with an uppercut, but needed the fight doesn't go decision to come through in that. Needed the fight doesn't go decision. The Pro just ended up being up 0.8 units or 0.9 units, 0.09, like $9. But I didn't bet anything last night. I pretty much tried to avoid the card as much as possible, and I'll have double the action this week because I like this week a lot from a betting perspective. So kept it light. My goal was to not get murdered last night, and I achieved that goal. So Weezy, how'd it go for you last night for UFC Louisville?
Yeah, it wasn't a good night for me. I had 8.4 units in bets total, and I finished down 2.71 units. My only money line bet was on Julian Marquez, got him at minus 115. And I mean, if you think about it, if he doesn't get knocked out in the first 20 seconds, that's probably a pretty good bet, but he got knocked out in the first 20 seconds. And my Julian Marquez to win in round 2 and Julian Marquez to win in round 3 bets, which totaled a half unit, were only about 4 minutes and 40 seconds away from having a chance of cashing, So if you look at it that way, they were horrible bets. That I hated that stoppage, but that was a perfect liver kick. That the very first kick that Reese throws, lands right on Marquez's liver. And then that actually Marquez slumps over because of that. He lands that uppercut. And then, but Marquez is one of the most durable guys in the UFC. And that prick, Dan Murgliata, once again, I mean, this guy, he's done it to me a few times, man. I thought it was I thought it was a quick stoppage, but I also want to say, like, big ups, Zach Reese. I mean, like, that performance was perfect. It was perfect, because you land that kick, you land that uppercut, and then when you see your opponent hurt, you fucking go all out like a guy who has nothing but first round finishes, and he did it. And so congratulations to him for getting his first UFC win. I don't want to take anything away from that dude. I had the over 2.5 rounds in the Dustin Jacoby Dominic Reyes fight. And Brady, that one was only 13 minutes away from cashing.
Close.
I mean, dude, he was so close to cashing. So, and then I also had Dominic Reyes to win by decision for a quarter unit. That does not cash. Obviously, he gets a first round knockout. I had Cody Stamann for a little sprinkle to win by decision because it was plus 350, but the fight was like almost minus 400 to see the scorecard. So I played a little bit of value there, played into a little bit of judging variance, but that fight was not close. What a brilliant performance by Taylor Lapilus in that one. I had the fight doesn't go to decision for Daniel Marcos versus Castaneda at plus 180.
Close.
Yeah, that one was close on a couple of different places. Castaneda kind of had him in a bad spot on the ground. Marcos definitely landed some big shots on the feet, dropped him once. But yeah, just couldn't. It was plus 180 too, so it was a big plus money number. I felt like that had a chance to finish. And then, like you said, I had the under 2.5 rounds for Gomez versus Mora. That was so close to cashing a couple of different times. And I also had Denise Gomez inside the distance for a quarter unit. If she gets that submission finish in the first round or gets that ninja choke in the third round that she had locked up, it's a winning night for me. But, I came close on a couple. But then, when you bet the over 2.5 in a fight that ends in 2 minutes, that hurts. When you lay just a little bit of juice on a money line and the dude gets knocked out inside of 30 seconds, that hurts. It's hard to lose bets any more spectacularly than that. So it was a mix of close bets that didn't cash, some really bad bets that didn't have a chance in hell of cashing. And then once again, Brady, the ass shaving of the week, 10 weeks in a row. And it was an ass shaving. It was the most brutal knockout of the night. Spinning back elbow, Bruno Ferreira over Dustin Stoltzfus. Stoltzfus got off to a hell of a start, but that guy Ferreira's got bricks for hands, and that elbow was just a total highlight reel. So it was good to see the ass shaving of the week cash. I had a 1-unit bet on Bruno Ferreira to win and under 1.5 rounds at plus 102. And then I also had the probability parlay, Brady, which was fight doesn't go to decision for Radke Protest with the under 2.5 rounds for Marquez versus Reese. That came out to minus 119. Bet that for 2 units. So that was a 1.67 unit win. But yeah, down 2.71 units. Could have gotten to even if a couple of things had went, if one thing had went my way, but it is what it is. We're right back to it this week. And I've already got almost 5 units in tracked action so far. And I'm waiting for props to open to attack it even more. Love this card from a gambling perspective.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to have a lot of action on this card. Weezy did not bet the over in the Marquez fight. That'd be...
Oh, God, no. I did. Did I say that? I bet the under in the Marquez fight, the under 2.5 rounds.
Yeah, nobody... Yeah, he did not do anything like that.
I did not do that. If I said that, I misspoke.
Yeah. All right. And by the way, I'm drinking this new Celsius. It's a new Celsius. It's called the Celsius Live Fit. I picked it. It was sitting. I picked it up at the store today. It's supposed to have energy, essential performance, 0 sugar. It tastes like ass, dude.
Really?
It feels like
flavor?
Ass. No,
it's ass flavored.
It's fruit.
You don't buy that then.
It's fruit burst.
Oh, it's a burst of ass.
It's like a burst of ass in my mouth. I mean, this is terrible. It was like $4 as well. It's super expensive. Nice big can. So
well, the show needs a sponsor, but it looks like it will not be the folks over at Celsius Drinks because Not if they're putting ass in people's mouths. That is something that Stat Diggers refuses to get behind, even in Pride Month. So
Yeah.
we're gonna ask for more than that from any potential sponsor of this show. I'm drinking some cold water, Brady. It's always, it never disappoints, you know.
I mean, if you'll never drink water that tastes like ass. But yeah, this Celsius it's rough. It's rough. So I'll try to get through it. All right, so let's hit up the comments. We have
the ass Celsius JPT.
Yeah, I've tasted a fair share of ass, but this is probably the worst ass I think I've tasted in a while.
And Jeff Bruno says that I'm bought and paid for by Big Water.
Big water. By the way, we are looking for a sponsor. If you do want to sponsor the show and your product's not ass, we will have you sponsor. So dead serious. We are looking for a sponsor currently. So as long as your product is not ass, we got you. All right, let's hit up some comments. We're going to try to roll through them. You guys are killing the chat right now. We have Elijah one in here. Sal D'Amato scorecards. Brady already ordered the Fugitt Tamar wig. That I did not. And yeah, Dixon, what is your problem? Dixon is supposed to be the OnlyFans expert. And Weezy, last week he didn't even bring it up. Marquez does have an OnlyFans.
I did not know that. Yeah, 1.15 units down the drain on the money line, 0.5 units down the drain on the second and third round props. And I didn't know, even though Dixon always lets us know that this guy is an OnlyFans.
Yeah, Soriano scored 169 on DK. That was the most crazy performance. It kind of reminded me of that Jung Young Park fight versus John Phillips, whenever Jung Young Park landed like 300 strikes, and that actually made DraftKings change their scoring. Because I think Park scored like 70 points that fight and had like 300 ground strikes. Kind of remind me of that, but that was a dominant performance from Punahele Soriano. And welterweight Puna is a different monster, it looks like. He was able to wrestle ground and pound for a full 15 minutes. We got There Will Be Blood. What is up? What is up? Kristen in the chat. Hello, Brady, Uncle Weezy in chat. Back to the Apex this week, so maybe some extra violence to be had. That's what I'm hoping, and that's what I'm thinking. And how can there not be when you got guys like Jose Johnson, Jimmy Flick, Westin Wilson, so on and so forth on this card? Lots of violence. We got TH. What's up? What's up? Tomar lost 30-27. I scored it 30-27 Dos Santos, but Dos Santos also came out there with one of the most trash game plans I've ever seen, so she only has herself to blame, in my opinion. Let's see. Did John Jones, Dominic Reyes rematch? I know Dom Reyes would love that one. Would love that one. Who should Klein fight next? Somebody said a really good suggestion for who Klein should fight. I forget. Who do you think Klein should fight next? I forget somebody said something interesting.
Oh man, at 155, that's a good question. I mean, you know what would be, but doesn't Bobby Green have a fight coming up?
Yeah, with Patty.
Oh man, I hope he beats the face off of that guy. Oh God. I'm still so salty from the Gordon fight, but that's a good question.
Wait. It was Grant Dawson versus Ludovic Klein. I think it'd be a fun fight. Striker versus grappler.
Oh yeah, that could be interesting.
That'd be a fun one.
Yeah, I don't know if Klein would want that fight because, God, I mean, like, you know, the people aren't lining up to fight Grant Dawson. I'll tell you that.
Nope. Unless you're Bobby Green. Yeah. Did you see the Raul Rosas Jr. post-fight speech?
I did.
It was.
I did.
I lost all respect for the guy. You know, Raul Rosas. A lot of people needed to get some help last night, but he was one of them. Great performance, but that was a terrible performance on the mic. What was he even saying?
I don't know, dude. But I mean, big ups. I mean, it was a great finish. It was a really good performance by Rosas. You know, he's 19 years old, Brady. He's 19 years old. You know, I mean, he's young, dumb, full of cum. He's a professional fighter, you know. And I mean, like, the guy's spent his whole life in a gym. I mean, he's really not socialized with the rest of the outside world yet. You know, he's got a lot of growing to do just as a human being. And I mean, they all can't be Conor McGregor on the mic. And I don't think Rosas ever will be, but at least he talked about buying a house for his mom. Got a great win. You know, this kid's 19 years old. Dude, if you would have put me on a microphone in front of the whole world when I was 19, I would have looked like such an asshole. I'd have been like drooling with a fucking big old boner sticking out of my pants. You know, it would have been a complete goddamn mess. So, you know, I mean, a big ups, Raul Rosas. Great performance last night. But yeah, he's got to work on his mic skills a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I laughed my ass off whenever Ricky Tercius tried to get under the chin of Raul Rosas. It's like, why even try? It was hilarious. He couldn't. It's impossible. I thought that was so funny. And Antonio Tricoli has taken this fight at 185. Yeah, this fight should not be sanctioned. I can't believe this fight's even happening. On a card with Westin Wilson, I mean, that's the fight. You know, Tricoli fight should probably not be sanctioned. There you go, Mush. And that's a good night. That's a good night. Couldn't believe Klein couldn't finish. Me as well. Me and Wheezy, I think, almost bet the under at like plus 150 on Sunday. It got smashed to plus 100. I liked the under at plus 150, but I missed the line and I passed. I would have been pissed, dude, because Klein dropped Moises in the first, and then Klein dropped Moises hard in the third and didn't get a finish as well. Yep, Rayondo Sant, she fell in love with the box.
Yeah,
she fell in love with the box. Let's see. A lot of Tamar hate. Come on, guy. I mean, she got to win. She got to win.
Yeah.
Gomez was after the weigh-ins, I liked Gomez, but I liked her by finish, and that didn't happen. She won a decision. Reese is still a fraud, in my opinion. We learn nothing about.
We don't know. Yeah, we learn nothing.
Yeah,
it's infuriating because we're gonna have all the same questions about him next time. But I mean, all credit to that dude. In the 12 seconds that fight was on the feet, he looked phenomenal.
Mushrooms drunk, as is Keith Peterson. Keith Peterson was so drunk last night he couldn't even make it to the arena. Couldn't find an Uber. So yeah. No Keith Peterson last night, and yeah, we don't know. Is Reese that good? Is Marcus that bad? We don't know. We just learn nothing. We learn nothing.
Yeah.
We got Cody saying, "What's up, boys? The Jared stoppage sucked. Yeah, it was a trash stoppage. But you know, I saw Jason Herzog was getting a ton of hate. I mean, that guy is the most consistent referee out there. He's done two things I haven't agreed with really his entire career, which is great. That's great. It was the stoppage last night. And then whenever Zhang Wei Li killed Yan Xiaonan twice, I've never seen a fighter die twice and come back to life, but Yan Xiaonan did that. So those are the only two stoppages I disagree with Herzog. So yeah, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Let's see. The dogs were barking. Yep, I picked a couple dogs myself. Baeza got absolutely destroyed. Yeah, it was hard to watch. It was super hard to watch. Celsius, well, I'm not a watermelon fan. Wheezy like watermelon? Yeah,
I like it. I don't drink watermelon flavored beverages though, unless I'm making a fine agua fresca at home, Brady, which I am known to do every once in a while. But yeah, I like watermelon, but I wouldn't drink Celsius watermelon. I wouldn't drink Celsius anything. Give me my water or something with some alcohol content or coffee. That's the only liquids that really enter this body.
Come on, let's not hate on Celsius. I need my caffeine, and I stopped drinking coffee, so it's got to be Celsius or some type of energy drink. And I think Celsius is probably what won't hurt me too much if I drink them. I think it's better than like drinking Monster. Like that doesn't sound healthy. So
that tastes terrible.
Taste the ass Celsius. I need caffeine. I mean, you need some caffeine taping some of these fighters, man. It's rough out here. Gosh. Celsius, if you're watching this, we are still open to a sponsorship, and we are sorry. And you never know, maybe some people enjoyed tasting some ass, and you just opened up a new fan base there. Oh my gosh. Michael loves it. And there you go.
Get in there.
There you go. we got half the bet. We got Dan in the building. Was good to do a show with you last week, Brady. War Proches. Yeah, Dan was all over Proches. And yeah, it was nice to do a show with Dan. It was the first show I did with him. So shout out to Dan for that. And yeah, shout out to Proches for that nasty, nasty knee to Charles Racky.
I almost shit myself just watching that.
Man,
it was horrible.
It was bad. And yeah. by the way, we were doing our show Proper Billy, and I was like, we were talking about the lines, and the fight doesn't go to decision was minus 180, and I was like, Weezy, I feel like this is a mistake line. That should have been a max bet. Like, why was the fight doesn't go at minus 180?
I was waiting for that to open up someplace else at minus 180, and I was going to parlay it with something, whether it be like the fight doesn't go for Marquez, both spots of the probability parlay were spots that we were looking at. And then when it opened every place else, it was minus 220 when they opened it. And then it went to minus 190, then went to minus 220. And that was one of those ones I sat there going, you're supposed to max bet those lines.
Yeah.
When it's screaming at you to bet it, max bet it. And I made the mistake of not doing it last week, and I pulled the trigger this week with a big bet. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
There we go. And you moved the line, so I'm kind of pissed off, but it is what it is. We got my biggest fan in the building. Mark Unkefer is my biggest fan. Yeah, it was a tough card for a lot of people. And it would have been a tough card for me had I went heavier on it, because I did some of my reads were off, but I kept it light, and I needed that parlay to come through, and it did. We got Spencer saying 2 of the greatest ever. Hit that like button, guys. Appreciate you, Spencer. Jeez, I can't pull up some of these. Oh, guys, we're trying to get a sponsor for the show. I can't bring up some of these comments. Not only if I bring up some of these comments will I not get a sponsor, but we're not going to be on YouTube much longer if I pull up some of these comments you guys have in the chat. I'm talking to you, Andy. You guys can scroll up and see it for yourself, but some of these just should not be said. Okay, Weezy, we talked for 27 minutes. That's way too long, but we have timestamps now. Yeah. People can, if they don't want to hear all this, if they don't want to hear about eating ass, nasty ass Celsius flavors, they can click the timestamp and they can go right to Shayilan Nuerdanbieke going against Mel Costa. We have Mel Costa, who is 27 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach. Shayilan Nuerdanbieke, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach. We have Costa, 3 years younger. He's going to have a 3-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Mel Costa is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Thiago Moises, lost that fight by submission in the second round. He beat Austin Lingo by decision, and then he got TKO'd by Steve Garcia in one of the most trash. Was it a trash game plan? I don't know. I didn't like the game plan because I guess we have seen Steve Garcia taken down and controlled before, like in the Pena fight. But Steve Garcia gets dropped like 50 times a fight. I kind of thought that Mel Costa might want to try to stand and bang with him and knock him out, but he kind of just tried to hump his leg for 6 minutes, which I've never seen that out of Mel Costa. But yeah, he ended up getting caught in the second round and TKO'd very brutally. As far as Shayilan Nuerdanbieke, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss against Joshua Culibao, decision win against Sean Soriano, decision win against Downtown TJ Brown, a knockout win against Derek Minner, and then a knockout loss against Steve Garcia. So both of these guys failed the Garcia test. And I guess the UFC said, okay, you guys both failed this Garcia test. We'll put you guys together. Fun fight. I think this is a banger to kick off the card here. And by the way, Weezy, we have the graphics here. I'm loving them. We got the bulldozer in the back. We're about to dig some stats. So yeah, fun fight to kick off the card. What do you like in here?
Yeah, it's a great fight. I think it's a great way to start the card. And earlier in the week, I think I mentioned in my Discord last night, or maybe to you the night before, but Melky Costa at minus 190, almost minus 200. I was like, really? Against Shayilan? I seem to remember Melky having some pretty shitty takedown defense. And a guy like Nuerdanbieke is very aggressive with the offensive wrestling. As a matter of fact, both of these guys have bad takedown defense. Shayilan's takedown defense, 40%. Costa's 43%. But here's the difference. It's that Shayilan is winning 83% of the control time positions in his fight. He's out controlling his opponents like 49% to 10%. Costa is out controlling his opponents about 25% to 21%. But here's the difference, right? Both of these guys attempt way more takedowns than their opponents do. So if you're attempting 9 takedowns and your opponents are only attempting 3.5, you should be out controlling your opponents by a pretty good ratio. You shouldn't be getting out controlled in fights. But that's what's happening to Melky Costa thus far. He's given up some time to Thiago, even to Austin Lingo. So I think that this is not going to be a good situation for Melky just in terms of minute winning. And in terms of moment winning at distance, it's Shayilan who's actually landing these big overhand bombs. And it's because you have to worry about the threat of the wrestling from him. And he does a good job of blending his striking together with his takedown entries. And I think Shayilan's got a pretty functional MMA game for this level. He's got power on the feet. He's got a wrestling game that he will go to over and over again in order to win minutes and kind of wear down his opponents. And he can be very, very annoying. He can refuse to fuck off and just kind of be in your face the entire time. And he's built like a fire hydrant. So if he hits you, there's a good chance you're going down. Dude's got 3 knockdowns in 5 UFC fights, Brady. But if this fight does stay standing at range, Melky Costa's got a really functional and really high-level kickboxing game. He mixes his weapons really well. He's a southpaw. He's got great kicks to all areas on the body, but those body kicks, he can go to the head, he can go to the legs, but when he goes to the body, he's nasty. So, with the southpaw, the volume that he throws, the accuracy at which he lands, and he's defensively responsible at range as well. I think Melky can win the minutes, but the question is he going to be able to keep this fight out of the clinch? Is he going to be able to avoid a big overhand right from Shayilan when he's worried about the takedown entries? There's just there's going to be very few guys at this level that Melky Costa is less experienced than, because this kid's got 27 pro fights and over 250 minutes in the cage, and he's only 27 years old. But then there's Shayilan, who literally fought like every other month in China for like 5 straight years. The guy's got 50 professional fights, Brady. 50. So he's actually more experienced than Melky. He's got a little bit more UFC experience than Melky. He's got the better minute-winning skills in the grappling exchanges. But it is Costa who's fought the better brand of competition thus far. I don't know. It's an interesting fight, but I kind of find the plus money number on Shayilan kind of interesting here, because I think he can win some moments on the feet. I think that with as many kicks as Costa throws, that Costa might find himself getting taken down a lot in this fight. And if Shayilan makes it a grindy, wrestly type of fight, that is going to be to his favor. And I think he can win the minutes here and potentially win a decision.
Yeah, I kind of agree. When I first saw this, I thought it was going to be Shayilan that was the favorite, for that wrestling upside. Yeah, I think on the feet, both guys are pretty good strikers. Shayilan just wings absolute bomb. I think Costa's the much better striker on the feet, but Shayilan can potentially get takedowns here, get it down to the mat. Both guys kind of crumbled against Garcia in their last fight. Shayilan kind of looked like he got broken a little bit in that fight, and as did Costa, so I don't really take too much into that as well. I was kind of thinking violence here. Both guys have been finished a ton. Costa's been finished 4 times, 2 by sub, 2 by knockout. Nuerdanbieke has been finished 9 times, which is crazy, but a lot of those finished losses were like a while ago, I think, but that's like 13 finished losses. I was maybe thinking like an under. I'm not sure where they have it, but yeah, it's a dog or pass for me as well. It looks like they have the under 2.5 at plus 135 and the over at minus 165. So I don't hate the under, just because on the feet, both guys are live to land a big shot. And then on the ground, both guys are live to sub or get sub. So under for me. And then also Shayilan is kind of interesting at this price tag, and it's moving a little bit. Shayilan is now Costa is now minus 164 rather than minus 170.
Okay, yeah. So a little bit of money coming in on Shayilan. And can you bring up the OU tab on that page?
Yes. There it is.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. And you said the under 2.5 is not 115 anymore. It's now plus 130.
135. Under 2.5.
135, and then the over is minus 165. Is it?
Yep.
So definitely finding some value here on the under, just in terms of past performance, how it compares, how the implied probability of the line compares to the divisional benchmark. And 2 of 5 Shayilan fights, 2 of 3 Costa fights at the UFC level have finished under 2.5 rounds. That's 50% of the 8 total fights. I think Costa can do some damage on the feet. I think Nuerdanbieke can do some damage on the feet and like maybe get some ground and pound. So I kind of like the under at plus money here. It's definitely the better plus EV bet according to my over under betting model, just on in terms of past performance. Nothing to do with the stylistic components of this particular matchup. Of course, that's independent. But yeah, violence and the Shayilan side is what I'm leaning towards for this fight, Brady.
And somebody in the chat was asking if Costa's coming down in weight. So he fought at 155 against Garcia, but he fought at featherweight against Lingo.
And he's fought at featherweight a few other times on the regional scene. So he's kind of bounced back and forth between both weight classes.
Yeah, so he should be fine. Should be fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got in the chat. We have Costa's going to get mauled. Yeah, I think I could definitely see that. I could definitely see it. This should be even money at worst. Actually, favor shot to win. That's kind of what I was thinking. That's what I don't know. I'm still kind of sketched out about Nuerdanbieke. They're like 50 fights, only 30 years old, a lot of finished losses, but the dude can wrestle. The dude can absolutely wrestle, and his cardio is not bad either. So, yeah, I don't hate the Nuerdanbieke plus money. Yeah. Let's see. Costa is quicker on the feet, and then by round 3 he takes over. Yeah, that's another worry as well. Nuerdanbieke might slow down, but yeah, we shall see. I think his cardio is fine, but it did look kind of bad in the Garcia fight. But Garcia did land like a nasty knee to the head. I think that had a lot to do with it. We got Daz in the chat. Always good to see Daz in the chat. We got our guy, Joshua Frick, in the building. What is up, Joshua Frick? All right, Weezes. Yeah, fun first fight of the card. We can move on to the next fight, and it is Josefine Knutsson going against Julia Polarstri. We have Josefine Knutsson, who is 28 years old, 5'3", with a 60-inch reach. Julia Polarstri, 26 years old, 5'2", with a 63.5-inch reach. It is going to be Knutsson Knutsson 2 years older, a 1-inch height advantage, and then it's going to be Polarstri with a 3-inch reach advantage. Knutsson 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She's undefeated. She had a Contender Series decision win against Isis Verbeek. She beat Marnik Mann by decision in her debut. As far as Polarstri, she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She had a Contender Series loss against Jasmine Jazz the Vicious a while ago at this point, and she's routed off 4 straight wins ever since. So, yeah, I was very impressed with both fighters. Knutsson, I think, is a very good fighter. She trains with same gym as Khamzat Chimaev, is kind of what she's known for there. But yeah, she's good. I think her striking's very good. She has really good control. The wrestling's good, and when she gets on top, you stay there. The cardio checks out. The only thing I'd say she lacks is finishing ability, but that's fine. She's winning a lot of minutes, and that's most important, especially in the strawweight division. As far as Polarstri, I didn't remember much about her other than that Jasmine fight, but I went back and watched that Jasmine fight. I was actually impressed, and it was a fight I think she lost 30-27, maybe 29-28 at best, but she was having some moments against Jasmine Jazz the Vicious. She was winning a lot of the striking exchanges, landing a lot of big shots on the feet, and even off her back, she was threatening with submissions, and that was a fight where she was taking it up a weight class, and she had actually fought at atomweight fights prior to that one. She was going against like a big Jasmine Jazz the Vicious. So she was kind of holding her own in that fight. Clearly lost, but holding her own at moments. But obviously the size, the physicality of Jasmine was too much. Then I was watching some of her other fights. On the feet, she's pretty nasty. She can get takedowns in her own right if she gets on top. Her ground and pound's very good. But I think her downfall is going to be that takedown defense overall. She's not only getting taken down by Jasmine Jazz the Vicious, she is getting taken down by other fighters. And like I said, she is active on the feet or on the mat off her back. If Knutsson gets you down, I kind of think she's staying there. Knutsson's a pretty big favorite, And I feel like this fight can play out a lot closer. Like if Polarstri's able to keep this fight upright, if this fight's at range, I feel like Polarstri can have some success. I just worry about the takedown defense of Polarstri and the ability for Knutsson to get it down to the mat. There's a couple fights I'm just going to completely pass on for this card. This is one of them. I crossed it out. I'm ruling it out. I think Knutsson wins. Knutsson by decision, but minus 210 want nothing to do with it. Wheezy, what are your thoughts on this fight? You are a big believer in Knutsson, as am I. But yeah, you like her a lot.
I do, and it's not just me, Brady. I mean, it's the betting markets. You look at the lines on Josefine Knutsson's fights thus far as a professional, and where they're being lined by the sharps, and it's obvious that everybody is the secret is out. When she made her debut on the road to UFC and fought Yadam, she was a minus 1,300 favorite in that fight, minus 1,300. And then against Isis Verbeek, she's minus 280. Against Marnik Mann, she's minus 700. She's had one close fight as a professional. It was in UAE Warriors against Jacinta Austin. That fight was a split decision. It could have went either way. Knutsson won the second round. First and third rounds were really close. Jacinta's a huge fighter. She's 7-2 as a professional, and I think we're going to be seeing her very soon in the UFC. She's an absolute beast. So Knutsson is getting respect for very good reasons. Her conditioning is impeccable. She is a decorated kickboxer, 50 Muay Thai and K1 kickboxing bouts. She was ranked as a top 10 pound for pound female kickboxer in Combat Press magazine between the years of 2020 and 2022. So she's got a lot of Muay Thai experience, runner-up in K1, world champion in Muay Thai. Josefine Knutsson's got legit striking, very, very legit. But because of the Muay Thai background, she's also very mean in the clinch, and she can win minutes in the clinch. And as we've seen in her work thus far in the UFC, she's winning minutes on the ground as well. Let me go to my notes here. Josefine Knutsson, between the Road to UFC fight, the Dana White Contender Series fight, and then the UFC debut, she's 8 of 11 on her takedown attempts, Brady. And over those 3 fights, she's controlled her opponents for over 23 minutes. So that's in a 45-minute sample size, so she's controlling her opponents over 52% of the time. She's outlanded each one of these broads at distance. So she's winning every single round. She hasn't lost a round yet out of 9 rounds in the Verbeek fight, in the Yadam So fight, and in the Marnik Mann fight. And she's already been tested at a high level on the regional scene against Lanchana Green, against Jacinta Austin. So and then 50 Muay Thai bouts prior to that. She can wrestle. She can win minutes in the clinch. She can win minutes at distance. She's got the conditioning to go the full 15. And she's extremely comfortable in the cage. I think some fighters don't finish because winning minutes is just so easy for them, and because there's just no threat from their opponents. I mean, she's Swedish, so she's stoic anyway, but she just fights stoically. I mean, she fights without any emotion. She doesn't get tired. And she's very smart. She can find the weakness in your skill set. And I was very impressed with Polarstri. On the Polarstri side, Brady, I think we're going to get a little more power on the feet from Julia. Julia's the better finisher. Julia's 2 years younger than Josefine Knutsson, and she's the more experienced mixed martial artist. So I think that Julia is going to have some advantages in this fight as well, being the younger fighter, the more experienced fighter. Probably tested at a little bit higher level, maybe a couple of better wins for her as a professional. The strength of schedule is pretty similar here, but Polarstri's more experienced and younger. So that's a nice combination of attributes to have. So I think both of these girls are on their way up. But what I honestly don't know is, where does Julia Polarstri win minutes or moments here? In the clinch, at distance, on the ground? I don't see it. I mean, I think Josephine's going to win by decision here.
Yep. I am picking the exact same thing. I just can't get to this money line, though. With these crooked, corrupt judges, I mean, one of these judges could score the fight 30-27 Knutsson.
Yeah.
One of these judges could score it 30-27 Polarstri. and you can't lay minus 210 in a fight that could go like that. Which I think it could. I mean, I have Knutsson to win this fight. I think she can get takedowns, get control, but Polarstri could land some big shots. She could have some big moments. She's active off her back. So, yeah, it's Knutsson by decision for me. But she's minus 210. The decision prop's going to be minus 200. Like it's not going to be great, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you would just lay that money line for Knutsson because the decision honestly probably does open around minus 170. So
yeah,
Knutsson is damn good. I mean, you don't be rated at a minus 1,300 against a decent fighter, and you damn so if you aren't really highly touted. And that's when people are in the room with you and they're saying, look, she's super talented. And this is going to be a tough UFC debut for Julia Polarstri.
Yeah, I think both these fighters have a lot of upside, at least more upside than Liang Na did. That's I think these are two better strawweights. Yeah, so the over, as expected, is juiced to minus 350. The under is 275. Yeah, this is going over. If it goes under, it's probably Polarstri, so maybe a Polarstri finish only, but I don't even want to play that. It's probably going over, and the over is potentially a parlay piece. Weezy, did you end up pulling the trigger on a parlay?
Yeah, I did. I parlayed the over 2.5 rounds in this fight because Julia Polarstri's never been finished, and Josefine Knutsson's only finished one of her 7 pro wins. And I personally believe that Knutsson's going to probably just dominate this fight, win all 3 rounds. So I think it's correlated with an over here in that I don't think Polarstri's going to have much success. And even if she does, I don't think she's getting Knutsson out of there. If you watch that Jacinta Austin fight, Knutsson never stops. She's super fucking tough. And if you put her in a bad spot, she's going to find her way out of it.
Yeah, she is very tough. Both these fighters are. So the over makes sense, but it is juiced. We got Big Steve in the chat. What is up? Big Steve saying, hello, hence. And he means gents. What is up? What is up? Yep, over 2.5 parlay piece. There's a lot of parlay pieces I like on this card, and that could potentially be one of them. Let's see. What is up, Stacks? What is up, Stacks? They are giving her a better Knutsson a finisher to teach her what's the lesson? A lot of people were upset that she didn't finish, man. Luckily, I stayed away from that fight, but let's see. Knutsson by a judge's nod, and she is training all-stars with Gustafsson. Who does Polarstri train with? Who does she train with? I don't think I recognized anybody.
What do I got on that? CWB fighter. I don't know what that is. That's what I have the camp as listed as CWB fighter for Julia Polarstri. So I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was Polarstri or a different female fight, but I'm pretty sure she was training with all guys. Or maybe that was a different female fight. I don't know at all. Yeah, I think that was a different fight we'll talk about. But yeah, I have no clue what that is. Knutsson by wet blanket. I'm seeing it the exact same way. No play here. Move on. It's a garbage fight. I don't think it's a garbage fight. I think it's a pretty high level fight, to be honest. Knutsson as a parlay piece. I'd rather parlay the over, but yes, I agree. Fight goes to disappointment. Don't worry, guys. We'll get to the good stuff very shortly here. All right. And no, she's not catching. I'm a big Liang Na fan. I would never throw shade at my girl Liang Na. She trains with an 80s montage. I could see it.
I love those. That's how you get good quick, is with a montage.
I could see Romanov doing like an 80s montage with the resistance bands with the headband on. I could see something like that.
For sure, man.
All right, Weezy, let's move on to the next fight. And oh boy, here it is. We have Jeka Saragih going against poor. You know, he legally changed his name to Poor Westin Wilson. Could you imagine? We got Jeka Saragih, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Poor Westin Wilson. He is 35 years old, 61 or 6'1", and then a 73-inch reach. Jeka Saragih 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Anchal Jubilee, lost that fight by second round TKO, and then knocked out Lucas Alexander in the first round as a massive dog. As far as poor Westin Wilson. This is a guy that is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Joe Anderson Brito, lost that fight by first round knockout, and then lost by first round knockout to Gene Silva. And Weezy, did they arrest the guy yet that allowed Joe Anderson Brito to go in there with poor Westin? Well, did they arrest him yet or no? Not yet.
I don't know who made that fight, man. I think whoever like signed that as being the sanctioning body that allowed that to happen signed their name with an X. And there was, there was no cameras in the room. They were like, this is not coming back on me. And, if there's one thing that those mob people know how to do, it's engage in business in ways that it won't come back at them if people get discovered for doing illegal activities. So whoever did that is an absolute master. And I think that same person might have been the one that said, yes, Antonio Tricoli is just fine to fight a former world Sambo world champion in Ikram Aliskerov. Yeah, we can sanction that fight. This is Las Vegas. You know how many bodies are buried in that desert back there? Who cares if it's one more?
And there might be when it's all said and done in this fight. Yeah, so this fight's hilarious, man. I mean, they're giving Westin Wilson a chance in terms of they're not giving him Joe Anderson Brito or Gene Silva. This will be his easiest opponent thus far in the UFC, but it's still not the best matchup in the world because Jeka does one thing really well, and that's hitting like a truck. Jeka throws with very, very bad intentions. I remember watching his road to UFC fight. It was like in the third round. He just sits down on a big shot and knocks the dude out cold. And I was just imagining to myself, I'm like, man, if he lands that shot on Wilson, he's not only knocking out Wilson, but Wilson's ending up in the hospital. I mean, poor Westin Wilson. But at the same time, in my opinion, I know it's Westin Wilson, but laying minus 325 on Jeka Saragih, it's icky, man. Like, this is a guy that got broken by Anshul Jubilee. This is a guy in Jeka who's been finished twice by sub. Like, what happens if this fight hits the mat? It could get very greasy. But I'm not sure what's up with Westin Wilson's game. You watch his fights, and it's like he's coming out there with a karate-heavy style, and he doesn't go for takedowns a lot in his fight. Like, I'm like, what is this guy like doing? I don't know what he's doing. He had no game plan in the Gene Silva fight. He had no game plan in the Brito fight. And really in all of his fights, he has no game plan. He goes out there, he tries to strike with you, and somehow, some way, the fight ends up on the mat, then he gets a sub. That's how a lot of his fights go. So I don't think he has the wrestling to get this fight down to the mat. I don't think he has the striking to strike with Jeka. I think Jeka lands a bomb in the first round and knocks out Westin Wilson. I'm actually shocked they're giving Westin Wilson another fight because this guy just should not be in there. He should not be in there. So Jeka by first round knockout, and the under is probably parlayable. Westin Wilson hasn't seen a first round in a very long time, and there's a reason for that. So yeah, give me Jeka KO1, and I'll have some type of violence on this fight one way or another. Wheezy, what are you liking for this fight?
Yeah, I like violence. I parlayed the under 1.5 rounds here at minus 220 with the over 2.5 rounds in the Knutsson fight. And that came out to minus 115. So I put 1.15 units to win one. Jeka Saragih, 14 professional wins, 14 finishes. Poor Westin Wilson. 16 professional wins, Brady. 16 of them. 16 finishes. So these guys have got 30 combined wins, and they've shaved ass in every single one of those 30. So 30 wins inside the distance. Jeka Saragih, 3 professional losses. He's been finished in all 3 of them. Poor Westin Wilson with 9 professional losses, 7 of them inside the distance. And the 2 guys who didn't finish them couldn't bust a goddamn grape. It was just that because poor Westin Wilson doesn't have a game plan or any kind of minute-winning capabilities, he's just kind of waiting for that finish to present itself. And he doesn't wait that long, Brady, because if it doesn't come in the first 3 or 4 minutes, it's not going to come. I mean, am I wrong when I say that I think all 16 of his finishes are round 1?
Probably.
I think they are all. I mean, I might be wrong on that. I don't have that in front of me, but look, man, minus 220 for an under 1.5. I think Jeka Saragih either takes this dude's head off or, like hurts him, drops him, and then winds up in a triangle and winds up tapping or some shit. But if this thing goes past 7.5 minutes, it's going to be hilarious. I won't be laughing because I'll have lost the bet, but it's going to be hilarious. After the pain of losing the parlay wears off, I'm going to be laughing at a 9-minute fight between poor Westin Wilson and Jeka Saragih.
Poor Westin Wilson. Poor
guy. I mean, he's a software engineer, but I mean, his brain is going to be software if he gets knocked out anymore. You know, it's just going to be a soft lump of mass in his head that's completely useless if anybody bounces his head off the canvas anymore, like Joe Anderson Brito did.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. It's kind of hard to watch, but yeah. So we got Jeka Saragih. He opened up minus 350s, minus 325. Poor Westin Wilson opened up plus 285, currently plus 275. The over under set at 1.5 rounds. The over 1.5 plus 180. The under 1.5 is minus 220. And yeah, I don't have any bets on this fight yet, but I will be getting to some type of violence bet on this fight, Wheezy. There's a lot of violent fights on this card. This, in my opinion, is the most violent fight on the entire card. This fight shouldn't be sanctioned, in my opinion. The Aliscara fight definitely shouldn't be sanctioned, but this fight shouldn't be as well. Westin Wilson shouldn't be fighting. It's tough to watch. Anything that's landing against the guy, like there's a bad reaction out of him. Like Gene Silva, everything he landed in that fight, Westin Wilson was wobbling around. What is Jeka going to do? Because I think Gene Silva is a lot more skilled than Jeka. But Jeka hits a lot harder than Gene Silva. Jeka throws with very, very bad intentions. So I'm going to try to get a petition this week to not let this fight happen. I'm actually seriously worried about poor Westin Wilson. So I'm going to head out to Vegas sometime this week with the petition, go in front of the Apex, and try to get enough signatures to get this fight taken off because I'm worried about the health of Westin Wilson.
It's going to make you a popular man in Vegas trying to get a fight called off. You know, people are going to love you. I'm sure there won't be people in, like black SUVs pulling up to you saying, get into the back, son. We need to have a talk.
Could you imagine if I actually did some dumb shit like that? Just took a petition. Westin Wilson shouldn't be fighting this Saturday. Sign it.
Bring it to the UFC PI.
Just go in. Westin Wilson signed it. Yeah, I got you. I'll sign it.
That'll be one of our like how Conan O'Brien would have like these skits that he would do offset, where he would go interview people or just talk shit. That'd be a great one where we try to get fights called off on fight week that are about to happen on Saturday. Like ask the sanctioning, like, why would you let this happen? Who signed Antonio Trocoli and thought it'd be a good idea to put him in there against Aliscara?
Yeah, man. It's I'm gonna enjoy this one this Saturday. I'm gonna be enjoying this one for as long as it lasts. But I do deep down feel kind of bad. I mean, Westin Wilson is kind of thrown in there with like the Shannon Rosses, the Malcolm Gordons of in terms of durability. Romanov would do it 8 and 80s. Get it, Montage?
Yeah.
He does. He throws with all his might. Poor Westin Wilson about to get that's his path to victory. It's literally a toe hold. It's literally if you like Wilson, bet on MGM. They have the submission prop. Bet the toe hold because that's how it happens in my opinion. I'll laugh if Westin wins. I hope he doesn't just do the fact because they better not re-sign this guy because I'm worried about him. Comic book name it is Westin Wilson. It definitely is. Jeka another parlay piece. Yeah, he should win. Sounds like my sex life. If I finish, it's early. Oh boy. Dana this week is going to prompt this fight. If you don't know, now you know. Saragih is going against Westin Wilson, who has a 100% finish rate. I could see it, man. I could see it. Brady's Panthers pick was on point Saturday. You think they'll win game 2, or will the Oilers get it done? Yeah, Weezy, if UFC does not work out, I guess I can get into the NHL because I did predict the Panthers to beat the Oilers. And I've never seen a hockey game, but I did it, and I got it right. And for me, I'm going to go with the Oilers this time. Let's make it 2-0. Let's make it 2-0 easy. And, yep, I'm 1-0 thus far, looking to make it 2-0. It should help build Weston's. What should?
Poor Westin Wilson.
Poor Westin Wilson. All right. Yeah, enough with poor Westin. I can't believe I put poor on there. I got to delete that. But so messed up. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We have All right. We got Gabriella Fernandes going against Carli Judice. We got Gabriella Fernandes, 30 years old, 5'6" with a 66-inch reach. Judice, 25 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. And we have Judice, 5 years younger, 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. So for Fernandez is what 3-2 over the last 5 fights. She made her debut against Jasmine Jazz the Vicious, lost that fight by decision, and then she also lost to Teresa Bleda by decision as well. Carli Judice, she lost to Ernesta Carrascate by decision on the Contender Series, and yeah, so looks like Carli Judice just became a pro like not too long ago, like less than 2 years ago. Judice became a pro, and I was watching her fights, and I was like, dang, she's a pretty dang good striker. And I think she played like softball prior to becoming a pro MMA fighter. And it's like, how the heck does she look that good on the feet? Like her boxing's very good. Her striking defense is not great at all. The cardio in the Carrascate fight didn't look great. She got hit like 180 times, but yeah, the striking offensively solid. She's finished all of her wins. And I think this is a very intriguing matchup. And I think the matchmakers did a really good job with this fight, Weezy, because Gabriella Fernandes, I think she's a very talented striker. Yeah. It's just she went against Jasmine Jazz the Vicious, who took her down and controlled her for 10 plus minutes. And then she went against Teresa Bleda, the girl with like the mohawk. And Bleda controlled her for, I think, 10 or 11 plus minutes. So now she's going against Judice, who's never even attempted a takedown in her life, I don't think. So she's definitely never got one. So yeah, Fernandes is going to get the fight she wants. Judice is going to get the fight she wants. And this is going to be a fun fight. I think this could be a fight that goes under the radar this week. I think these ladies are going to swing dicks, and it's going to be a fun fight to watch. Weezy, were you expecting this would be the fight that I'd say they're going to swing dicks in?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because I mean, because Carli's she's just a kickboxer. That's it. Like you said, her pro MMA career is 1 year and 7 months long. That's it. She's only got 4 fights, and she took the Carrascate fight on less than a week's notice. Brady, Carrascate was supposed to fight somebody else, so Judice wasn't even on the radar, but she was willing to take the fight on less than 1 week's notice, so that's why she got that fight. And I mean, she performed admirably. That's a tough opponent. Carrascate is somebody who's got a ton of cardio, a ton of output, and she pressures a lot too. So the fact that Carli is she's just a natural athlete who's probably just a really scrappy human being in general, a competitor, somebody who loves to win, because that's what I saw out there. Somebody who was like, yeah, she probably couldn't play softball anymore, because where are you playing softball after college is over, right? Nowhere. Maybe in a fucking intramural league, somewhere. So she wanted to continue competing. So she got into a MMA gym over at Aaron Phillips's Head Kicks MMA in Louisiana. And she was probably somebody who they noticed hitting the pads, and they're like, her form's shit, but goddamn, she's a good athlete. Somebody got in there, taught her how to box. She's a good athlete. She figured it out, and now here she is, a good athlete at 25 years old who happens to be a southpaw, and who's going to go out there and who's tough, who's durable, who's got a ton of heart. But, dude, she's just outmatched here. This Gabriella Fernandes is a legit kickboxer. Not only does she have 7 more pro fights and about 110 more minutes in the pro cage, but prior to that, I believe that Gabriella was a professional kickboxer as well. So all kinds of combat sports experience for Fernandes. And where Fernandes does her best work, that's where Carli, who just started MMA a year and a half ago, is the work in progress. It's not going to be good enough for her to just be tough and throw a ton of volume here, because Gabriella is going to be precise. She's going to be cutting angles. She's going to be making reads. She's going to be landing on Carli, who did not show the best striking defense. So yeah, I think Gabriella gets the job done here. This is a really good matchup for her, and they finally got her an opponent that would be able to show Gabriella's best skill sets, and she could be an asset to this division if they give her fan-friendly fights. But if they're going to give her crotch sniffers like Jazz the Vicious and Bleda, we're never really going to get to see what this girl can do. So I'm glad that the matchmakers made this fight. Judice looks like she's got some upside. She can get better. She's still very young. She's got heart. She's a fighter at heart. So I think that she's going to have some fun fights, but I think Gabriella is she's just better, and she's way more technical and schooled and experienced where Carli does her best work. So I like Gabriella here.
Yeah, it's a good fight. I like this fight. Gabriella Fernandes opened up -155, currently -250. Carli Judice opened up +135, currently +210. The over/under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 -185. The under 2.5 is +155. The under is semi-tempting, but I feel like it could be one of those fights where these ladies like land 200 plus hard significant strikes, and both are tough enough to kind of go the distance. That's kind of what I'm leaning, but I think these two are going to swing. Gabriella hits like a truck, but Judice is pretty tough. You got to be tough to absorb. She absorbed like almost 200 strikes in her Contender Series fight, but yeah, it's probably going to be a pass for me. But yeah, the pick for me is Fernandes as well. This card, I love this card. We're going to talk about some fun fights. Talking about some fun fights. We got Gabby power shots versus Judice volume. Yeah, she has great volume. Baseball is the best base for MMA. I don't know about that. OnlyFans is the best base for WMMA. Dixon would disagree with you with that. Carli is going to get the win with pure strength. Gabby is going to be out-muscled. That's just not Judice's game. Like, Judice is a striker. She's going to use the striking. Maybe Fernandez's ground game is so bad that Judice all of a sudden just wrestled. I just haven't seen it. That's what I look for, and I haven't seen her complete one takedown. But yeah, Fernandes, her ground game is pretty poor, but they're giving her a favorable matchup here in that aspect. What is up, Daniel? What is up? All right, we'll move on to the next fight. And did you have any final thoughts? My bad on that fight.
Nope, we're good. We're good.
All right, we're good. We have fun fight. Adam Fugitt going against Josh Quinlan. And yeah, this is a very fun fight. I'm a big fan of watching Adam Fugitt fights. He always brings it. So yeah, we got Fugitt, who is 35 years old, 6'1", with a 77-inch reach. We have Josh Quinlan, 31 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. Fugitt's going to be 4 years older, have a 1-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage. Josh Quinlan, he is 2-1, no contest in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against poor Jason Witt and won that fight by knockout, and then lost to Trey Waters by decision, and then got served by Danny Barlow in the 3rd round. It was kind of hard to watch. As far as Adam Fugitt, he has 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He beat Solomon Renfro. I think that was outside the UFC. Made his debut against Marlon Moraes. Lost that fight by 3rd round knockout. He knocked out Kinoshita, and he got submitted by Mike Malott. That was in the 2nd round. Yeah, so this fight's going to be awesome. Adam Fugitt is just the definition of a dog. He's super tough. He's going to make the fight exciting, and I love that about him. This is about a pick 'em, which I think makes sense, because Adam Fugitt, although I do like the guy, I like the guy's style, he does leave a lot of openings to be hit. He's been hurt a lot. He's been finished as well. But I'm just not sold on Josh Quinlan. He has a ton of power, but the cardio is kind of iffy. The volume's kind of iffy. Losing a lot of minutes in these fights. I think he has a 100% finish rate, but yeah, I don't know, Weezy. This is a close fight, probably a violent fight. What do you think about this one here?
Yeah, probably violent. 100% finish rate for Quinlan. Fugitt, 8 finishes and 9 wins. So these guys have got 15 wins combined. 14 of them are finishes. And Fugitt's been finishing 3 of 4 losses, and Quinlan 1 of 2. But we saw Quinlan's pretty tough in the Barlow fight. I mean, it took Barlow a long time to get him out of there, and it wasn't very close there in the 2nd round. And yeah, I mean, to me, I was never high on Quinlan. He obviously has some power, but he just seems kind of like plodding and predictable. Low kicks, 1-2s down the middle, not much else. Don't see much in the way of offensive wrestling, or what I should say is successful offensive wrestling. And, now that he's not juiced up, because he's been caught on steroids, I think not once, but twice, Brady, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, now that he's not juiced up anymore, I don't think we're seeing that one punch, face melting steroid power that he had when he was on the regional scene. And you'd see him like literally foaming at the mouth before a fight would start. So I think Fugitt, who's got a little bit more experience, who's taller, who's got a 5-inch reach advantage, who's the southpaw. I think it's Fugitt who's faced the better brand of competition thus far at the UFC level. I mean, with Mallet and Michael Morales, and then obviously I think the regional scene competition for Fugitt was better as well. So strength of schedule, size, length, experience, and I think a surprisingly good ability to win minutes in the grappling exchanges as well. So I'm favoring Fugitt here, but Quinlan's the younger guy, and I think he's really tough as well. So this could be just like a really fun fight that I might not have any money on, but that's going to be really fun to watch. And both of these guys have got good finishing ability, so it should be a fun one.
Yeah, I feel like there are some reasons to potentially like Fugitt here, but he's also very hittable. And the one thing Josh Quinlan does is he hits very, very hard. So that kind of scares me a little bit. But yeah, it's about a pick 'em here. We have Josh Quinlan opened up -145. He's -120. Adam Fugitt opened up +125. He is currently +100. The over-under is set at 1.5 rounds. The over 1.5 is now -210. The under 1.5 is +170. If I was going to bet violence, I'd probably opt for that under 2.5. But yeah, you nailed it. Josh Quinlan, he is pretty tough. He is a pretty tough guy. Took a lot of damage against Trey Waters and even took a lot of damage against Barlow as well. And I actually think Quinlan's the more durable fighter here as well. Fugitt gets hurt a lot. So yeah, it might be a good fight to just sit back and watch because it'll be a fun fight. It's a Fugitt fight.
Absolutely. That dude he's surprised me at points too, where he had some moments against really good fighters. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a fun fight for sure.
Quinlan is a fraud. Is this Brady's dad? That is not. Has anyone ever seen Quinlan and Brady in the same room? I look nothing like him, man. I mean, I don't
nothing like he's Hawaiian. He's half Hawaiian, half Japanese. Brady, you're like Irish.
Yeah, I'm half Irish and like half Indian. So yeah,
that's right. I don't see the resemblance either. Yeah,
we're not.
And then this guy's got like dreadlocks, and you've got like this short haircut.
I don't know what some people say, but everybody has their opinions. At least I'm not getting compared to Fat Collar anymore. I had to lose 100 pounds for that to happen. So I'd rather get compared to a very muscular Josh Quinlan rather than a big fat Jake Collier. That's for damn sure. Violence or pass, they both suck ass. That rhymed. That could be a slogan. Violence or pass, they both suck ass. The Celsius tastes like ass. Oh, God. Quinlan by KO. Hey, Fugitt's been KO'd before. Fade Quinlan. The fight doesn't go. I don't hate it.
Probably be pretty juiced, but yeah. Still, it's gonna be. I like it.
Yes, Contender Series fight got overturned. It did. And yeah, Barlow. He broke his hand that fight and still got Quinlan out of there. That he did. He landed a bomb on Quinlan in the third round. Post USADA. That is a good point. We could see post USADA Quinlan come out of the woodworks. I'd bet the under. I would definitely bet the under rather than the over. That's for sure. If you get his no spring chicken, that he is not. What does this mean, Mark? I'd much rather the hard lump of mass. I don't know.
Lump of mass. I don't know either.
It's a weird comment, but and yeah, Quinlan does not have the beanie on. That's for sure.
Yeah,
can't get over Wheezy. Knutsson is good. What are you saying? Knutsson is a good fighter, as is Polarstri, I think.
They both are good. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I haven't even gotten to a Knutsson bet yet because I'm like, wow, Polarstri surprised me. I think she's a solid fighter, but I think Knutsson could be top 15 in this division. She's good everywhere. She really is.
Like Fugitt, no, the other Indian. like how do I explain? I don't know, man. All I know is I'm part Irish and part I don't even know.
Native American, are you saying?
Native American. I don't want to get canceled, so I'm trying to watch what I say. So yeah, part Native American, part Irish. The Brady name, we used to be the O'Brady's back in Ireland. We used to be the O'Brady's. Then we came to America. We dropped the O, and now we're just the Brady's. So little history for you there. No, I'm not from India. Not from India. The Celsius Energy ass flavor of the fight of the night. And this fight is sponsored by Celsius ass flavor. This fight's ass. This flavor's ass. And this, enjoy it. Yes, Native American. There it is. Am I related to Tom Brady? No, I'm not. All right. I think we should just move on. Let's just move on. I do not look like Josh Quinlan. What are you guys talking about? What's wrong with people? But yeah, we have a great fight here. Great fight. We have Nate Maness going against Jimmy the Brick Flick. We have Nate Maness, who is 32 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach. Jimmy the Brick Flick, he is 33 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach. We have Maness 1 year younger. It's going to be Maness with a 3-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Jimmy the Brick Flick, he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Submission win against Cody Durden in his debut. A knockout loss against Charles Johnson. Knockout loss against Alessandro Costa. A submission win against Malcolm Gordon. As far as Nate Maness, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He had a submission win against Luke Sanders. A knockout win against Tony Gravely. A decision loss against Umar Nurmagomedov, submission loss to Tagir Ulanbekov, and a knockout win against Mateus Mendonce. So, Weezy, I'm doing it. I'm finally doing it. I have picked against Nate Maness, and I'm not joking. I've picked against him in every single UFC fight he's had. I'm the biggest Nate Maness hater out there. I picked Johnny Munoz to beat this guy. I picked Luke Sanders to beat this guy. I bet on Luke Sanders. I picked Tony Gravely to beat this guy. I bet on Tony Gravely. I picked Umar Nurmagomedov to beat this guy inside the distance. He did it by decision. I picked Tagir Ulanbekov to beat this guy, and I picked Mateus Mendonce to beat this guy. I have not picked Nate Maness to win a fight yet, but this is the fight where I think I have to. Yeah, Jimmy Flick, he's an exciting fighter. He's a submission artist, but he lacks a lot of things. The first thing, and the most importantly, is the durability. Jimmy Flick lacks durability, and more so than that, he lacks heart. When the going gets tough, he's one of those guys that looks for a way out. He looks for the door. And I actually cashed a nice big bet on Jimmy Flick inside the distance last time against Malcolm Gordon. He was plus 300, Jimmy Flick inside the distance against Malcolm Gordon. And a lot of people were looking to fade Jimmy Flick with Malcolm Gordon. And I thought that was kind of silly because it's Malcolm Gordon. But this is where I think it's definitely the time to fade Jimmy Flick. Nate Maness, he has a ton of power for the division. I'm not sure how he makes this flyweight weight class. When he shows up on the scales, he looks like a complete skeleton. He looks awful, but that doesn't hinder his performance. And what I like about this fight for Maness is he showed off some very, very, very nasty ground and pound in the Mateus Mendonce fight. And what does Jimmy Flick really struggle with? It's the ground and pound. Charles Johnson TKO'd this guy. How the hell are you letting Charles Johnson TKO you in the first round? So I think Maness has multiple avenues. If this is on the feet, it's one-way traffic. Maness has the power to knock out Flick. And then if this fight ends up on the mat, I think it's going to be Flick on his back. And yes, he's going to be throwing up subs, all that, but Maness has that GMP. So I think Maness wins this fight. And I think it's probably in the first round as well. Jimmy Flick, purely submission or bust, but maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of Maness fights, but this is a fight where I feel like Maness should win, and the odds makers certainly think that. The people certainly think that. I think it's going to be a pretty popular parlay piece this week, but yeah, I think now is the time to fade Jimmy Flick, not with Malcolm Gordon, who's been finished 20 times. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I like Nate Maness first round KO. I mean, it's a great spot for him. He's getting his ass kicked out there by Malcolm Gordon. This guy Maness used to fight at 155 for Christ's sake. So it's not like this guy, is hitting like a flyweight. If Nate Maness, lands on you, you could be a durable flyweight and it can end your night. Jimmy Flick's been knocked out 6 times as a professional. That's in 7 losses. So, I mean, like, he's 0-6 to the KO, but he's 15-0 to the sub. So if you make any kind of a mistake against this guy, especially early in fights when both fighters are dry, I mean, Flick can get anybody out of there. So, and we've seen Nate Maness subbed once and knocked out once. We did see him get subbed by Tagir Ulanbekov recently as well. So I bet the under 1.5 here. I saw it at -160. I said to myself, that's a big bet. I went 3.2 units at the -160 to win 2 units there.
Easy. That is a trash bet, my friend. I mean, Jimmy Flick, they call him the brick for the reason. You can't finish a brick, man. He has the heart of a lion. I think that bet sucks, and I will be personally going the other way. I'm taking the over.
Yeah, Jimmy Flick is a window, and Nate Maness is the brick. And that brick is going to go right through that window and shatter it like glass. It's going to be like you're going to get mud holes punched into his face by Nate in this one. But, no matter how much you say that bet was trash, everybody's going to know that you're joking, and the line is going to keep going, dude. That's why when I saw it, I said to myself, dude, I got to get on this now, because it's just going to keep going. It's really, I mean, like, you have to kind of picture it sometimes when you're saying, do I want to bet it at this? What you also want to ask yourself is, all right, well, what would I need on the over to bet an over in a Jimmy Flick versus Nate Maness fight, where you could see just so many ways that the fight could finish in the first 5 minutes? I feel like I'd need at least plus 250 to have my eyes even look at that over and be like, well, let me start trying to find ways that this thing goes 7.5 minutes. And then I'd be like, plus 250? No fucking chance, So if they're giving me -160 on the under, I had to go for it. Yeah. I'm just, I don't think I really need to care who wins this fight. I just have a very difficult time seeing it going over 7.5 minutes. Nate Maness has got pretty good takedown defense. And Jimmy Flick is good at finding the door.
Yeah, very good at finding the door. So, yeah, I will be betting some type of violence here. Not sure what yet, but yeah, I'm kidding. I like your bet. I like the under. I was just trying to trick some people, but I don't think it's gonna work. So yeah, we have Maness is a massive favorite, and I think it's warranted. Even though, like I said, I'm the biggest Nate Maness hater out there. This guy's screwed me multiple times. I don't think a fighter has screwed me more than the Nate Maness has, but -450, that's fine. That's fine with me. Jimmy Flick +350, the over under, and yep, you beat some line movement there. The over is now +160, and the under is now -200. And yeah, I think it's Maness in probably round 1. If not, then it'll come in round 2 there. All right. See what you guys are saying in the chat here. Maness, we got another parlay piece. Yeah, I'd be fairly surprised if Flick won this one. If he wins it, though, it's first round sub. Jeka, Maness, Josefine. Don't hink like that, Wheezy.
Think.
Oh, there's no over. This line is not wide. The lines I did in the late 80s were way. I can only imagine, Mushroom. I can only imagine. And we got Mills in the building. What is up, Mills? What's good, Brady, Wheezy? Hopefully you are doing well, Mills. And yeah, so this is another fight that I think is very, very violent as well. All right, let's move on to the next fight, and it is Tagir Ulanbekov going against Joshua Van. One of my favorite fights on the card here. We have Tagir Ulanbekov, who is 32 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach. And then we have Joshua Van, who is 22 years old, 5'5", with a 65-inch reach. Joshua Van, 10 years younger. Joshua Van with a 2-inch height disadvantage and a 5-inch reach disadvantage. Tagir is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He beat Bruno Silva, not the middleweight Bruno Silva, the flyweight Bruno Silva, by decision. He beat Alan Nascimento by decision. He lost to Tim Elliott by decision. That was the fight where Tim Elliott was cheating. just like his wife Gina Mazzani did. And then he beat Nate Maness by submission, and then he beat Cody Durden by submission. As far as Joshua Van, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He went out there and beat Zalga Sumagula by decision in his debut. He beat Kevin Borjas by decision, and then he beat Felipe Bunis by second round knockout. Yeah, so this is a very interesting fight. I'm not sure why that comment just pulled. I didn't even press anything. So yeah, the interesting about Joshua Van is I think he has so much upside. He's only 22 years old. This is a guy that in his 3 UFC fights, he's lost every single first round thus far. It's like he takes a while to get going. And I was watching some of his fights outside the UFC, and even in some of his fights outside the UFC, this guy's dropping the first round and then coming back in the second and getting a finish. It's kind of weird to see, but I thought that was very interesting. And then I also, went and watched Joshua Van's only loss, and it was not the best look. It was at this point, I think like 3 years ago, but he went out there and he got taken down and quite frankly dominated in that fight. And ever since that fight, I was waiting for somebody to maybe test that grappling. We haven't really seen it yet. This was the guy that went out there and finished Joshua Van. Let's pull it up here. His name is Devin Jackson. He is the Relentless DJ Quick, which is not the worst nickname in the world, but also not the best. And he's on a 2-fight scale, lost to Jack Duffy and Colton Loud. But yeah, this guy went out there and he took down Joshua Van, put him into a bunch of dominant positions in the first round, and then eventually submitted him in the second. I didn't think that was the best look. And since then, his grappling hasn't really been tested. I thought Zalgas might try to take him down a couple times. Borjas, obviously a striker, and then Felipe Bunis took him down twice. But I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a fight where Joshua Van's grappling really gets tested here, because I know a lot of people aren't, the highest on Tagir Ulanbekov, but this is a very, 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 very high level grappler. I was very impressed with the grappling of Tagir. This is a guy that has really good back takes, really good wrestling, and he has a bunch of different submission options as well. He has those front chokes, he has those guillotines. He almost got one against Cody Durden in the first round and then ended up submitting him via rear naked choke in the second. And if you get your back, you're in a lot of trouble. And even on the feet, like Tagir, he's long, he's rangy, he's not a bad striker as well. So I feel like at the very least, we're gonna learn some things about Joshua Van. Has he improved that grappling? Which you would assume so. He's only 22 years old, but it's going to be tested at the absolute highest level here. Joshua Van, obviously a very good striker, especially as the fight goes on, has solid power for the division. But if Tagir gets you down, you could be in serious trouble. So Weezy, we have pretty much, striker versus grappler matchup here. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I love this fight. This is a high-level fight, and I'm a big fan of Joshua Van. What this kid has accomplished at only 22 years of age is pretty phenomenal if you think about it, right? This guy has no combat sports background at all. He just walked into a gym, and here he is three years later, less than 3 years later, and he's 10-1 as a pro, and he's 3-0 in the UFC. This guy's a fucking soccer player. I really like what this guy is bringing to the cage. He brings an absolute ton of cardio, and anybody who's got really good cardio, they have to have the brains to be able to know to bring pressure and output with that cardio, because it's a nasty combination of attributes to have to fight against. Now, if you want to rest against Van, you're going to have to be able to take this guy down. Because if you don't take Joshua Van down, he marches forward. He puts together combinations. He works your body. He throws uppercuts and body shots, which makes it difficult to wrestle against him. And it makes it even more difficult, Brady, when you're constantly moving backwards because the guy won't fuck off, won't stop walking forward. So Josh Van's got a great style that suits his strengths as a fighter and as an athlete. And then you got on the other side Tagir Ulanbekov, who's 10 years older, and even though he's been a professional mixed martial artist for 8 years longer than Josh, Tagir only has 6 more fights than Josh. So think about that. 2 years and 7 months is Joshua Van's MMA career. And in that time, he's got 11 fights. This guy's fighting like 4 times a year, while Tagir Ulanbekov shows up about once a year. You know, this guy's got 17 fights in almost 11 years as a professional. And a lot of that volume came on the regional scene when he was younger. He's only got 5 UFC fights, even though he's been in this organization a lot longer than Josh Van. But Tagir Ulanbekov is 8-0 to the submission, you know, and you see Josh Van going out there looking for calf slicers and flying triangles and shit. And you're like, dude, you pull that shit against Tagir, you're going to get wrapped up like a pretzel. So I do think that there is, first of all, Tagir being 2 inches taller, having a 5-inch reach advantage and being a southpaw is a big combination of attributes to overcome. In addition to that, Tagir is more experienced as a pro and at the UFC level. He's the far, far, far better grappler, and he's faced the better brand of competition. And a lot of people are a little bit frustrated with Tagir's performance thus far. They're figuring with this guy being Khabib's first cousin, being in the room with Abdul Nurmagomedov since he was a child, that he should have performed a little bit better at the UFC level. But Brady, look at the level of grapplers that he's been in there against. Bruno Silva, high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Alan Nascimento, high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Tim Elliott is an ultra-veteran who's been in there against every top flyweight that's ever stepped foot into the UFC cage. Tim Elliott has fought every single one of those dudes, and he can cheat with the best of them. Yeah. Then you got Nate Maness, and he gets him out of there, right? Because Nate's grappling game wasn't on his level. Cody Durden, one of the best wrestlers in the division. Tagir just kind of toys with him, gets his back in the first, finishes him in the second. Joshua Van is by far the lowest level grappler that we've seen Tagir Ulanbekov ever fight. And Stubborn Mick brought it up in the chat. Ulanbekov has a loss to Zhalgas Zhumagulov on the regional scene, and Josh Van has a win over him. But it was a pretty bad decision. 5-round fight. I'm not really sure how Zhalgas got that win, but I think it was in Kazakhstan.
It was Zhalgas's 3 wives were judging.
Oh, okay. Well, they got him a good win there against Tagir. But I think the grappling disadvantage here is too much. Josh does throw a lot of kicks. I think that's going to be something that he can't do as much in this fight. And if he's just pressuring, trying to throw hooks and stuff like that, I think Tagir is just easily going to take him down. And when he does, I think he's going to find a submission. I'm liking Tagir to win this early by submission.
Tagir opened up minus 170, currently minus 225. Joshua Van opened up plus 210, currently plus 190. If you like Joshua Van, I just live bet him after the first round, because this guy hates winning first rounds. Like, he hates it. You'll probably even get a better price as well. So I'm with you. I think Tagir has a good chance to take him down, and I just think there's a very, very big difference in terms of the grappling. With that said, I also thought that was the case in the Rayon dos Santos Tamar fight. So maybe Tagir's going to come out here and with the worst game plan possible and strike with Joshua Van. But if not, if he does fight smart, I think he has a good chance to win. This could be the best fight on the. It could. I really like this fight. I really like both these guys. Van 2-3, always a good way to play Joshua Van. This is an execution. Oh my, for who? I don't know.
Probably for Tagir is what he's thinking.
Yeah, Tagir by decision is a lock. I wouldn't rule out the sub, man. This guy's submission game's no joke, and Van's only lost by sub. The over-under is set at 2.5. The over 2.5 minus 160. The under 2.5 is plus 130. I don't hate the under because I'm picking it to go under. But Ulanbekov, 17 fights, has never been finished. But Joshua Van does hit hard. So I would lean under or pass for me, but I think I might take a look at maybe the Tagir sub prop or something like that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't bet the under 2.5. I would much rather bet the fight doesn't go when that becomes available, just because the way Van fights, I think you're going to see late finishes out of him, and especially if Tagir is desperately trying to get takedowns, and let's say he's getting them, but Van just won't stop getting up, won't give up the dominant position. I could see maybe Tagir getting broken in round number 3 because Van's volume, his pressure, and he's got good power too, and a body shot can just shut you off if you're tired. So I think that either one of these guys could finish, but I would much rather have the full 15 minutes because that, I think, prices in a van finish as well as that early potential finish for Tagir with an early sub.
Yep. Makes sense to me. And yeah, you'll be living in a van down by the river. Heck yeah.
Classic stuff.
For having the same name, Westin, like the Bougie Hotel. He's poor. Oh my. And then somebody brought up the Joshua Van point spread. Yeah, because I think at the very least he could win a round if he does not get submitted. And yeah, rest in peace, Chris Farley, one of my favorite comedians, gone way, way too soon. But all right, let's move on, Weezy. I think that was the prelim or the featured prelim, right? I'm pretty sure.
I'm not sure. Let's see. Ulanbekov. So 1, 2, 3. We still got 6 fights left to break down.
So maybe the next one might be the featured
prelim? I think it's the Hiestand Armfield fight is the featured prelim, and then we get to see, starting on the main card, the flyweight debut of Jose Johnson and his crew of hoes going up against Isu Almabaev.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I feel like the Tagir fight should easily be on the main card, but it is what it is. All right, we'll move on then to this next fight. Another really fun fight. We have Garrett Armfield going against Brady Hiestand. We have Garrett Armfield, who is 27 years old, 5'6" with a 70-inch reach. Brady Hiestand, 25 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. It's going to be Armfield, who's 2 years older. It's going to be Armfield with a 2-inch reach or 2-inch height disadvantage and a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Brady Hiestand is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A knockout loss to Chad and Helliger outside the UFC. Had a decision loss against Ricky Tercios in his debut. A knockout win or a decision win against Fernie Garcia, then a knockout win against Ulanbekov. As far as Garrett Armfield, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against David Onama up a weight class on short notice, lost that fight by second round sub. He beat Toshiyami Kazama by first round knockout, and then he beat Brad Katona by a very close decision. So yeah, fun fight here. Striker versus grappler matchup. It's no surprise what Brady Hiestand's going to want to do in this fight and need to do in this fight is get the fight down to the mat. I think it's an interesting fight because on the feet, I think Garrett Armfield's a very good striker. But we have seen not only in the Onama fight, a little bit in the Katona fight, even outside those fights, outside the UFC, he is getting taken down, he is getting controlled, and he's been subbed twice in his career. So I think there definitely is a path for Hiestand. And I also think there's a path for Armfield. Armfield has great strike and great power. Brady Hiestand, he's very hittable. He's been dropped in every single fight thus far. So yeah, striker versus grappler matchup. I feel like whoever wins this fight probably looks like a decent-sized favorite. But Weezy, what do you think about this one here?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me not to bet on Brady Hiestand because he's made me a pile of money. I max bet him against Fernie Garcia, and outside of a brief moment, like 10 seconds into that fight, he dominated that fight. And I bet him to win against Ulanbekov, and wasn't looking great going into the third round, but I thought the first round was close. He had a really rough second round. But what I had been saying all week going into that fight was that nobody was making Dana wrestle. So what if somebody actually made him wrestle? Could they break him late in the fight? And that's exactly what happened. I mean, like Dana quit. He quit. And I think whoever was cage side, I think it might have been Felder, basically said the exact same thing. Brady made him quit because he made him wrestle. So, and Armfield's a guy that, I think Katona really made a big mistake not wrestling more against Garrett, because at the end of the first round and at the end of the second round, Katona shot takedowns late in those rounds and had success, not necessarily getting him down and keeping him down, but both times he got to dominant positions where he would get the body lock from the back, and then he could land some shots in the clinch and some knees and just win that last minute of the round. But I think because the boxing exchanges were somewhat close, that I think if Brad had just wrestled more, he might have done enough on the scorecards to win that fight. And I think that's something we can count on from Brady Hiestand. See, because Brady's still only 25 years old. And he's been away from the cage for over a year. We've already seen Brady have a long layoff due to a knee injury. So at the age that he's at, and as much talent as he's shown thus far at the UFC level, I think it's, I think it's fair to assume that we might see some improvements here from Brady, a young man on a 1-year layoff that's shown already a pretty decent MMA skill set. The striking's just going to get better. And the wrestling and the pace is already something that he's done a very good job with. So, but I really do like Garrett on the feet. I think his boxing is excellent. Look at those distance striking metrics for Armfield, Brady. 8.8 distance strikes landed per minute on 16.5 attempted. So he's landing 4.2 more than the divisional average, and he's attempting 4.8 more than the divisional average. Big time volume, a positive 3.9 distance striking differential, above 60% distance striking defense, never been dropped in the UFC. And we've seen Brady Hiestand get dropped a handful of times, actually. Only 2 officially, but we know that it's probably been more than that. Garcia dropped him in the beginning of the first round. Ulanbekov dropped him in the second round. I think Tercio's put him on his ass a couple of times. More off balance shit than like dead ass knockdowns. But either way, I think Garrett Armfield should win the minutes on the feet. But if Brady's striking has taken that next step, these exchanges on the feet could be close, and Brady could do enough with his wrestling, with his damage, with his top control in order to win some minutes in the grappling exchanges as well. So I don't like the line here, man. I think that this is a very 50-50 fight, and I might have to get to my third straight Brady Hiestand money line bet.
Man, I bet on Dana by KO against Brady, and it wasn't really close.
It was kind of close in the second, dude. He had a big second round against Brady Hiestand.
Yeah, so I had that bet, but yeah, no, I definitely get it. But yeah, Brady definitely has a path. He definitely has a path. I think both guys have a path. I think it's going to come down to whether or not Brady's able to take down and keep down Garrett Armfield, because Armfield's improving too. Like, his takedown defense looked a lot better in a get-up game against Katona. So we'll see. I don't think I'm betting on a money line. I'm decently interested in the total just because stylistically Brady, he has that ground and pound, he has that submission game. Armfield's been submitted in 2 of his 3 losses, and then on the feet, Armfield hits really hard, and Brady's been knocked out before by, I think, Chad and Helliger on the regional scene, and then also he's been dropped in a couple fights. Maybe the under, but I don't know if I'll be getting to this fight. Yeah, man, 3 wives judging comment made my stomach hurt from laughter. At least somebody enjoyed that, man. At least somebody enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too.
Will Brady bet on Brady? No, I don't think I'm gonna bet, but it would be probably dog or pass for me, just because Brady absolutely has a path. Because we have seen Armfield taken down and controlled and subbed, and not only the Anama fight, the Katona fight, but even fights outside the UFC, he's getting taken down a lot. Garrett's gonna win. Garrett should make this look easy. He could. I've never been impressed with Brady. I think he's mid everywhere. I think my favorite attribute of Brady is like the heart. This guy has a lot of heart, a lot of will. Very tough guy. Brady is very mid. Which Brady is it me? Let's see. Bet 25 years old and dropped a handful. If he wants a long career, he's going to have to change that. He's been dropped a lot.
The striking's good. The striking's got to get better, but you know what I noticed is that he's switching stances so often, Brady, that he's kind of just standing right in front of his opponent, kind of square. Like, he's kind of lazily switching stances, but instead of getting that shoulder ahead of him, he's just kind of like going like this and then like this, but he's leaving this big wide target for his opponents to hit. And, he does prefer to grapple, but I like his head kicks. They get up there pretty fast. He doesn't really telegraph them. And because he's not afraid to grapple, he's not afraid to get taken down. So I like the fact that, he does have a weapon that can land and land heavy.
Yep, it should be an interesting fight. Let's see. Okay, we'll move on to the next fight.
And take us into this one. I'm going to fill up my water, and I'll be right back.
Yep, no problem. We have Almabaev going against Jose Johnson. We got Almabaev, 30 years old, 5'4", with a 65-inch reach. Jose Johnson, 29 years old, 6 foot with a 71-inch reach. Jose Johnson, 1 year younger. Jose Johnson is going to have an 8-inch height advantage and then a 6-inch reach advantage. Holy crap. Almabaev, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He went out there and beat CJ Vergara in his last fight by decision. He submitted Ode Osborne in his debut in the second round. As far as Jose Johnson, he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights, had a decision win on the Contender Series against Jack Cartwright. He lost to Damon Blackshear by first round submission, and then he beat Chad and Hellinger by submission in the third round. So yeah, is this the debut for Johnson at flyweight, or has he fought there before?
Dude, if he's fought there before, that would be bonkers. I'll actually look, but I mean, I can't imagine how.
Yeah, I mean, who is letting this guy cut down to flyweight? What sense does that make? So, I know at least in Canada, I think maybe some other states you can bet on fighters to miss weight, which hopefully some people took advantage of Eduardo Mara to miss weight. Don't know what the line was at on that, but yeah, Jose Johnson to miss weight could be like a max bet because how this guy's 6 foot, Wheezy, 6 foot with a 71.5-inch reach. How is he making flyweight? Yeah, I don't think he has, but I'm looking as well.
He's fought at lightweight. He's fought at featherweight. He's fought at 140.
Holy crap.
I mean,
wow.
Who the hell is letting this guy cut down to 125? It makes no sense, dude.
So this is not a Jairzinho Rosenstruck situation. Jose Johnson is 6 foot. He's a tall dude. He's a very tall dude. I think he's all of 6 foot personally. So yeah, what the heck? I don't know. I mean, Jose Johnson has probably the worst takedown defense I've ever seen. I'm actually shocked. I was looking at the number on his takedown defense, and I think it was like 36%. I was surprised it wasn't closer to like 0, because anytime somebody tries to take him down, he just folds like a lawn chair. So yeah, Asu should be able to get takedowns here whenever he wants. Should be able to get control time, and there's probably a good chance he finishes Johnson. Like, Johnson's been finished a lot already, and cutting down to flyweight, like, I don't like it. Give me Asu, and Asu by probably submission. Jose Johnson's been submitted 4 times. He's gonna have to kill himself to make this weight, or even get close to flyweight. This makes no sense to me. But yeah, Asu is a massive favorite, and he probably looks like a massive favorite, but Jose Johnson has ridiculous power on the feet. This guy is destroying people. He has so much power, and also has a little bit of a submission game as well. But I do think Asu is going to be the clear minute winner. And yeah, that weight cut's crazy. So yeah, no, this will be his debut at flyweight.
Yeah, 6 feet at flyweight. And then, I mean, when you think about, well, is this fight going to end violently, Brady? Well, let's look at this. Jose Johnson is 8-1 to the KO, and I think 3 of those dudes that he KO'd are not alive anymore. You know, like they didn't die as a direct result of the KO, but you know, they died. And then Almabaev is 9-0 to the submission, and Jose Johnson is 3-4, 4 submission losses. So Jose Johnson in his UFC bouts is showing 50% takedown defense. He's been taken down 4.8 times per 15 minutes. And he's being out-controlled 49% to 23%. So the really bad news there is that Jose Johnson, who needs to keep this fight standing in order to win this fight, is only spending 27% of his octagon time at distance striking range. That's just not going to do it. That being said, if this guy at 125 just hits you once with a step-in knee, with a big right hand, if he uses that plot no power like my guy Victor De Jesus talks about, you know, Asu Almabaev is going to die. 125-pound men are not meant to be hit by this guy. This guy has like nearly killed lightweights with his power. So Jose Johnson only needs one. So I am thinking that either Almabaev gets a submission here in under 1.5 rounds, or Jose Johnson lands something that ends this fight.
Yeah, man. I love violence here. Love it. Would prefer a 2.5. Would prefer a 2.5, certainly, but
yeah,
like the under 1.5 is plus 165, the over 1.5 is minus 195. But yeah, I think somebody's getting served here. I think Asu's going to have a pretty good chance to get that sub. I think it's going to be like a big level difference on the mat. And then Jose Johnson, like you said, incredible power. And yeah, so violence first and foremost. I wouldn't lay minus 400 on Almabaev. That's a little bit too much for my liking, but I think he could look minus 400. It's just Jose Johnson is a dangerous guy. I'm actually a big fan of Jose Johnson because this guy is so violent. He's so big for the bantamweight division. Now I guess he's big for the flyweight division. I mean, Weezy, there's no other flyweight even close to 6 foot, is there?
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, Eduardo Mora can't even make 115 pounds at 5'7".
Yeah.
Think about that. 5'7", and she's like killing herself to just sniff 116. This guy's 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get him down to 126, 10 more pounds than Eduardo Mora has. What?
It's crazy, man.
This guy's got hands like canned hams, dude. You know, it's like he's got 3 rolls of nickels in each hand. His hands weigh 9 pounds apiece. How the fuck is he going to make 125? Who let this happen? Is Dr. Nick Riviera from The Simpsons the new official physicist and doctor of the UFC? That's what I want to know. He went to upstairs Hollywood Medical College, and now all of a sudden he's just going across the border there to Nevada, and he's part of the Nevada State Boxing Commission now, evidently. I don't know what the hell is going on here. This is wild, and somebody's going to die.
He stopped eating. Tried 2 weeks ago. Jeez, I don't know. Bro's gonna fight. Yeah, it might be a strawweight the next fight. I mean, why not? Why not?
He's gonna destroy Sam Hughes.
Sam. Oh, Cesar Almeida has the worser takedown defense. UFC give it a layup to Asu. He makes the weight because his nuts are empty with all the hose. He has a lot of hose, man. A lot of hose. UFC weight scale via T. Yeah, he might lose to the scale, dude. We could see like a Julius Stoliarenko type situation. Like he could like that's crazy to me. If he makes weight, I would be shocked. I'd be shocked if he makes weight, but we've seen some crazy things before, but I don't think we've seen anything as crazy as a 6 foot guy making flyweight. Asu and Taira parlay for minus 105. Who makes it past the scale and gets sub? Yeah, we'll see. He has to make it to the scale first. Let's see. Women's water weight. I took Perez plus 130.
160 before he went to 150.
So you're telling me he doesn't look like a flyweight Sean Woodson? Not really. What do you think?
I mean, he's tall and long, you know.
Yeah, they both are tall and long.
Jose Johnson's a lot better looking. I mean, Sean Woodson's a day walker, and he's got that creepy, yeah, dude. Yeah, that's why Jose Johnson brings the top-notch quality ladies to the events, you know.
Yeah, I mean, to have that many hoes, you have to be, somewhat good looking, and I think Jose Johnson definitely is pulling it off. So shout out to him. Yeah, plus 300 dog, Jose Johnson. All right, Weezy, we'll move on to the next fight. Before we do so, if you guys could, let's get those likes up. Smash a like button, just like Keith Peterson smashing down probably a couple beers right now. What do you think? You think he's maybe a Coors Light guy? Maybe
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm thinking he's right now smashing some Pabst Blue Ribbon. He is got a pack of Marlboro Reds, and he's listening to some 1990s Rancid, which is a punk band from back in the day that was part of the band Operation Ivy, which existed before Rancid did. And that's what I think Keith is listening to right now.
I agree. Yeah. 100%. So Keith is what is it? It's 9 at night. So he's probably 24 pack deep right now. I mean,
yeah. I mean, this is not a man who stops at beer number 12.
No, he definitely starts early in the morning. So probably beer number 25. So let's get those likes up, guys, and subscribe to the channel. We go live every Sunday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, all right, let's move on to the next fight. We have Douglas Silva de Andrade going against Miles Johns. We have Douglas Silva de Andrade, 38 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. Miles Johns, 30 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Douglas Silva de Andrade, she is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a decision loss against Lerone Murphy, a knockout win against Gaetano Perello, a submission win against Sergey Morozov, decision loss against Saidner Magomedov, then a decision win against Cody Stamann. As far as Miles Johns, he is a 3-1-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Knockout win against Anderson Dos Santos, submission loss to John Castaneda, decision win against Vince Morales, no contest against Dan Argueta, and then a decision win his last time out against Cody Gibson. So yeah, Douglas Silva de Andrade still going strong at 38 years old. This guy is always in incredible shape. And yeah, 38 years old at bantamweight is something you typically would be kind of concerned about, but he just fought Cody Stamann, and I thought he looked really good in that fight. I think Douglas Silva de Andrade, even at 38 years old, still has some left in the tank. But yeah, this is a really good fight. We have 2 pick'em fights on the card pretty much, and this is one of them. What are your thoughts on this fight here?
I think that Miles has been really hot lately, and it's hard to ignore when somebody's 8.5 years younger in the bantamweight division, because Douglas Silva de Andrade has been around for a minute, Brady. 35 professional fights, 12 at the UFC level, 20 wins by KO. So this dude is explosive, and he's got crazy power. And Miles Johns is a guy who does a really good job at winning decisions. 8-0 to the decision as a professional, while Douglas Silva de Andrade definitely does rely on that moment winning a lot more. 4-3 to the decision as a pro, and he's and that's it. I'm sorry, 7-3 to the decision as a pro, but 4-3 at the UFC level. So when you look at like the differentials and the distance striking metrics, it's clear that Miles is a pretty good minute winner. He's landing 1.3 more distance strikes per minute than he absorbs. He's got above average 44% accuracy. Brady, the key is that his distance striking defense is phenomenal. 74.6%. That's 14% better than the divisional average. And Miles has done a decent job of mixing in a little bit of wrestling to win some minutes. His fights take place in control time positions about 35% of the time. He's winning about 54% of those control time positions, 85% takedown defense. The problem is that the takedown accuracy really isn't there. Miles does flash some power on the feet. Obviously, Douglas Silva de Andrade, a little bit more power, a little bit more explosive. But Miles is a functional mixed martial artist with good wrestling, good boxing, and the experience to know when to use what and how to bank rounds and win decisions. So I think it's interesting, man. I think Douglas Silva de Andrade is an interesting pick here because he lands the bigger shots, and we know that we prefer damage over control these days. Miles' wrestling, I don't think, is good enough to take a guy like Andrade, who's only been controlled for 11% of his UFC career. It's going to be hard to win minutes in the grappling exchanges against this guy. But here's the biggest difference, Brady. Miles Johns has 8 UFC fights and 5 wins. You add up the records of the 5 guys that he's beaten, 6 wins and 18 losses. You look at the guys that DSDA is beaten, 36 wins, 34 losses. So it's Douglas Silva de Andrade is fighting the better brand of competition overall. He's beating the better brand of competition overall. He's landing the bigger shots. He's having the bigger moments. He's doing more damage. He's the better finisher. So I think that it's not a bad look here, but the problem, what you're betting into, is that 8.5-year age difference, that minute winning difference on the John side. So I kind of feel like this line is right about where it should be. I feel Douglas Silva de Andrade is extremely durable, in my opinion. Yeah. So I do feel that Johns' best path, a guy who's 8-0 to the decision as a pro, is to win by decision. And Douglas Silva de Andrade by knockout, because Miles Johns has been finished in both of his UFC losses, is another way to look at this one. I think the prop market is the better way to play this, because I think Miles Johns has a path through minute winning, and I think Douglas Silva de Andrade has a path through moment winning. Maybe decision only, finish only props, good looks for this one. But I'm not sure who's winning this fight, dude. Who do you think wins?
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. That finish only for Douglas Silva de Andrade. This guy's next level durable, and he's fought some really good guys as well. And has
Yeah,
I think
Peter Yan, and I mean, he's
yeah,
been in there with really good fighters, and up at 145 as well. He's had
yeah.
a few fights at 145.
So yeah, definitely maybe like a finish only for Silva de Andrade, because I think he could potentially finish Miles Johns. Like Andrade hits hard, but I feel like if this fight does go to decision, yeah, you nailed it. Johns does a good job at winning minutes, so I think the line's probably about right at a pick 'em. Let's see, but the over under set at 2.5 rounds, the over 2.5 minus 200, the under 2.5 plus 160. I don't love either really, because I could see Douglas Silva de Andrade landing a big shot, getting a knockout, but I also could see it being like a grindy based decision via Miles Johns. So really no interest in this fight whatsoever for me at least.
And
Any thoughts on the total for you?
my betting model, Brady, says that where it's priced right now, data wise, just based on the previous activity of both fighters, that it's priced fairly. So I don't really, I wouldn't play the fucking time props here because I think they're correlated more with an under is correlated more with a DSDA victory, and an over is correlated more with a Johns victory.
Agreed. I'd be fairly surprised if Johns finished Andrade. Whereas I would not be surprised if Andrade was able to finish Miles Johns. So yeah, it's probably a good fight to pass on there. And the dog father, he moved the line, man. He moved the Tagir Van under from plus 130 to minus 110. So the fight doesn't go to decision. It's going to be like minus 150 tomorrow. Dang it.
Damn it, man. I hope that I was looking at that. I didn't pull the trigger, and now it's too late.
It's all right. I'm still probably going to sprinkle Tagir sub. Let's see. Miles and Douglas are going to be taking full advantage of the USADA less UFC. Both will evade the drug-free international test. Yeah, both these guys. I don't think Andrade has ever been caught, but I mean, you tell me. You know, should a 38-year-old man be looking like that? I don't know.
Dude, I heard the rat tail sometimes just grows on its own because of the steroids. Like he looks back. He's like, "What do you mean? I got a rat tail?" They're like, "Dude, it's there. Look at it." So, I mean, that's a lot of steroids. If you're just growing rat tails that you don't even know about, that's a sign that you might need to cut back on the performance enhancers.
Yeah, I think Miles Johns could rock a rat tail. I could see it. I could see.
I don't think anybody should ever rock a rat tail, Brady. It's those days are long behind us, and thank God that they are.
Let me ask you this: you have to pick. You have to have one: a rat tail or a skullet. You got to pick one. What are you thinking?
Can I pick death? Can I pick the gas chamber?
No, you got to pick one. What would you rather have? A skullet or a rat tail?
I've already got long hair, so I guess I'm going with the rat tail. Oh,
I don't know.
They're just both horrible. Just bad decisions for adults.
Yeah, that's for sure. Andrade post USADA. Both guys post USADA. Just finished softball. 7 cans deep. 619 in Vancouver. Heck yeah, big hotel. Keith Peterson's got you beat by what? Probably 21 cans at this point. So you got some catching up to do. PG agrees. Let's see. Joel's a 49 ripped to Shredge. There you go. Shout out to Joel. Stat Dig Sunday. Let's eat. Let's do it. Maybe a rat tail skullet combination. Oh God, that'd be.
Yeah, you could do that. You could just do the skullet and then just grow it super long like a like Beltran's beard.
Isn't a skullet pretty much a rat tail at that point? There's a difference, right? The rat tail is like a little like skinnier.
Yeah, you're braiding it while the skullet is just a patch of hair in the back of the head. And and I made fun of Charles Johnson for his skullet, but God, I got to tell you, Brady, Brian Kelleher in his last fight went in there with a skullet, and it is absolutely possible to pull off the skullet worse than Charles Johnson. I got to give you credit, because if you put Charles Johnson's skullet next to Brian Kelleher's skullet, it's Charles Johnson all day. I mean, Charles Johnson's skullet was so much better than Kelleher's. I don't know what Kelleher was thinking. I know that he had spinal surgery. I'm beginning to think it was brain surgery after I saw that that skullet that he came out with last time. Brian, please don't ever do that again, man. Don't do the skullet again. Not good.
Yeah, I mean, once I saw him show up with that, I knew he was getting knocked out. By the way, my Skullet Gang merch should be arriving within the next couple days. Shout out to Charles Johnson, and go check out his skull. Maybe Charles Johnson can sponsor us. Charles Johnson, where you at? Let's get you on here. We will shout out your Skullet Gang. Obviously, we're big fans of the Skull Gang, and my merch should be arriving within the next couple days. And we got
two-fight winning streak for Charles Johnson.
Yeah, he's doing really good. I'm very impressed with what Charles Johnson has been doing. And he cashed me a live bet as well in his last fight. So I'm very happy with Charles Johnson. All right, we got Big Hotel with a $2. Appreciate you, Big Hotel. He says, thanks for reading my comment. Hey, you know, that's what I do. You know, I pull up the comments, I read them, unless they are going to get me kicked off YouTube. Then I try not to read those. All right. So yeah, we'll move on to the next fight. Before we do so, that we have 488 of you watching. Smash a like, but let's get that to 500. Why not? It's a big card. We got Westin Wilson, the last fight in the UFC for Westin Wilson. We got Jimmy Flick on this card. This is a good card. I'm looking forward. I think we're gonna get some violence here. So smash the like button. Let's get those likes up. Moving on, we have Timmy Cuamba going against Lucas Almeida. We have Timmy Cuamba. He's 25 years old, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach, 8-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Lucas Almeida, 33 years old, 5'11", with a 71-inch reach. We have Tim Cuamba. He is 8 years younger. He's going to be at a 2-inch height disadvantage and same reach there between the two. Cuamba made his debut on short notice against Balaji Oki, lost that fight by split decision. As far as Lucas Almeida, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He had a decision loss against Zellhuber on the Contender Series, makes his debut against Trezano, wins that fight by knockout, loses to Pat Sabatini by submission, and then loses to Andre Fili by knockout. And I don't know. I feel like this is one of my least anticipating fights on the card, for me at least. Like I'm completely done with Lucas Almeida, man. I mean, I had some high hopes for him. This guy, he's a black belt. Like, he's a black belt with terrible grappling. He's a dude that, you know, I thought was tough as nails. He got sparked in his last fight, has a 100% finish rate. I don't know. I'm starting to think this guy's probably not UFC caliber. He's 33 years old. We're probably not going to see many improvements at this point. A guy that I thought was once durable, I'm now worrying about his durability. I'm worrying about his minute-winning ability. Timmy Cuamba, 25 years old, made his debut against Oki on short notice, put up a good performance in a loss, was a close fight, but I'm not that high on Cuamba either. This is a fight I'm probably just going to pass on. I'm much rather, like, I wouldn't be mad if they put like the Tagir fight on here, Tagir Van fight on the main card, but yeah, a fight that I'm not looking forward to. I think I have to go Cuamba just because I am pretty low on Almeida at this point, but we'll see. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, Cuamba's 8 years younger. So that's something that, you know, you always keep your eye on. But we know that Lucas Almeida is a finisher. Guy's got a ton of power. And, you know, with Cuamba, you got somebody who's a little bit more of a minute winner. But, you know, I think the performance against Mateo Vogel didn't get the shine that it really deserved to get for Cuamba, because Mateo Vogel is a nightmare of an opponent. He is a guy who just sticks to you like glue. He completely won't fuck off. I forget what the dude's nickname is, but it's something in Brazilian, like mosquito or something, you know, just something that just annoys you and stays on you. I'd have to check it out, but either way, Cuamba's win over Vogel was a real eye opener for me. And Almeida's a guy that I know has got ridiculous power. He's a guy that could be losing, but if you run into one big shot, especially early in the fight from this guy, he can absolutely end your night. his distance striking metrics are actually pretty good at the UFC level. It's just that he's been dropped a couple of times. He's landing 6.1 per minute and only absorbing 3.3. And Cuamba, I think, has got an underrated grappling game for sure. I mean, the fact that he was able to survive on the ground against Vogel is very impressive. And he's younger, and he's just in a little bit better of a place right now, as we've seen, Almeida on the 2-fight losing streak. But he's losing to really good guys like Pat Sabatini and Andre Fili, who's an absolute veteran. He had an impressive performance in a loss against Daniel Zellhuber. And he got a win over Michael Trizano in his UFC debut. So I think there potentially could be some value on Lucas Almeida. I mean, if his money line is plus 150 and you could get like inside the distance at plus 250, it like might be worth it to just play the inside the distance prop, because he's never won a decision in his life. And I mean, as a matter of fact, I think only one of his 17 fights as a professional has even seen the scorecards. So this guy's going to kill you or he's going to get killed. But Cuamba only a 50% finish rate. So is he going to be a finisher at this level? I don't know. And it's hard to lay juice on a guy like Cuamba, when his best wins aren't even probably on Lucas Almeida's level. And the Vogel fight was very close. So I don't know, man. I need to look more into both of these guys, but especially Cuamba.
Yeah, I'd say screw this fight, personally. I was thinking maybe like a finish only for Almeida, but I think I bet that the last 2 fights that he keeps getting finished. So I think I'm done with the finish onlys for Almeida, and I'm just gonna pass on this one. Gonna pass on this one here. Yeah, so looks like Cuamba minus 180-ish, Almeida plus 150-ish. The over-under is set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 is plus 130. The under 2.5 is minus 170. I don't like that because Almeida, he's durable, and Cuamba's not much of a finisher. Minus 170 to that under. I don't really like that. I don't like anything in this fight, but I don't know. Any thoughts on the total for you?
It's minus 170 now for the under.
Yeah,
dude, it was minus 185. Can you believe that? Who's paying minus 185 for that?
For a Cuamba fight to finish? I don't know.
Yeah, because only 5 of his 9 professional fights have finished for Cuamba. So, and that's against regional scene competition, so you expect a higher finish rate on the regional scene. So I got to look more into this one. I don't want to be throwing around anything that I can't back up, and I can't back up anything right now because I gotta do more research on Cuamba.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with staying away from this one. Let's see here. If Timmy wins his next fight needs to be against someone named Jimmy.
Yeah, because you got Timmy and Jimmy on South Park.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that would be great, because they had a great fight, those two, on one episode of South Park. It was called the Cripple Fight episode. And they beat the piss out of each other. So if we could get a Timmy Cuamba fight against somebody named Jimmy, that would measure up to that Timmy versus Jimmy fight on South Park, that thing would probably go into the UFC Hall of Fame right alongside of Diego Sanchez versus Clay Guida, is one of the greatest fights of all time.
We could do Timmy Cuamba versus Jimmy Flick. Flick comes up to featherweight.
Yes. Love it, because he could get a submission even up there.
Yeah. You never know. Whoever arranged this fight order needs some. Yeah, I think they should put that the Tagir fight on the main card. That Tagir fight.
Yeah.
Or even like the Armfield Hiestand fight, I think could be on the main card, but we'll see. Maybe the bout order gets switched throughout the week. No Dixon with the does Lucas Almeida have an OnlyFans? What do you think? Does he have an OnlyFans? You think?
I don't think so. I would be very surprised if he did.
Timmy Cuamba potentially might. He's a handsome guy, but Almeida looks terrifying. That's a guy that I'd be scared of if I was around that guy in person.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's paying for an OnlyFans for Lucas Almeida.
Have Kim Winslow referee it? Jeez.
think it would be
Kate
good.
Winslow? I thought it was Kim Winslow.
It is Kim. It is Kim.
Who's Kate?
He's thinking of Kate Winslet.
Oh, okay. Oh boy. All right. Let's move on, Weezy, to a fight that shouldn't be sanctioned. I should have actually put Poor next to Tricoli's name as well as I did Westin Wilson, because even more so, like, this fight shouldn't be happening. It really shouldn't be happening, but we'll talk about it anyway. And maybe it doesn't, because I remember Tricoli pulled out of his last fight like the week of, so maybe it doesn't happen. But we have Ikram Aliskerov. He is 31 years old, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach. Antonio Tricoli, 33 years old, 6'5" with an 82-inch reach. It is going to be Ikram, who's 2 years younger. It's going to be Ikram, who's going to be at a 5-inch height disadvantage. And then it's going to be Ikram, who's at a 6-inch reach disadvantage. So we have Aliskerov, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against poor Phil Haas, won that fight by first-round knockout. He knocked out Warley Alves by first-round knockout as well, dropped him with a jab, followed up with a big flying knee, and then eventually put him out. Great performances in both for Ikram. As far as Tricoli, he beat somebody on the Weezy, who are
so
these?
I've got the wrong names on the sheet, because Aliskerov was actually supposed to fight somebody with a pulse. And it's really hard for me to update these things, and I realized that I didn't update the last 5 fights.
I'll pull up the
like
topology here.
Those were for whoever Aliskerov was supposed to fight in this fight.
So Tricoli, he is, let's see. So he is 3-1 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. He had a submission win on the Contender Series against Kenneth Burr, and that got turned into a no contest because he popped for, what was it?
Steroids. It was anabolic steroids.
So it wasn't marijuana.
No.
Okay. And yeah, so this is, I can't believe this fight's happening. So this is a guy in Tricoli who's pulled out of multiple fights. He has one actual win in the last 6 years, 7 years. His last actual win was against, who's this guy? Wrestly. Wait, Wrestly Israel?
Yeah. Tough kid.
His nickname's Bubba.
Yeah, and he hasn't fought since.
Jeez. So this is his only win in the last 7 years?
7 years.
And yeah, he lost to Tricoli, and after losing to Tricoli, he called it quits. So I don't get this, Weezy, at all. What is this guy doing here? Oh, by the way, I didn't even pull it up. There he is. He's hideous.
Yes.
He's hideous. I think we just lost half our viewers, but this is Bubba. Tricoli's only win is against a guy named Bubba in the last 7 years.
And then that dude quit fighting after he lost to Tricoli.
Yeah, so I taped this fight and I'm like, whatever the line is, it's not going to be wide enough. So and minus 1,000, it's warranted. This fight shouldn't be sanctioned. Ikram wins this fight literally however he wants. And I'm not even concerned this fight. I'm not even convinced this fight happens. I got to see it to believe it. I'm not even sure Tricoli shows up. Why would he? It's stupid for him to even show up. And yeah, somebody in the chat brought it up as well. This is going to be Tricoli cutting down to middleweight, right?
Not really. Now, Brady, you got to let me take the floor here, because your analysis on this fight is so bad. This fight isn't going to be close, and Tricoli is going to absolutely fucking destroy this guy. All right.
Okay.
You want to know why Tricoli's fought once in the last 7 years? Because everybody refuses to fight him. He's too good. Okay. They had to fucking spike his piss with steroids, which was fake, in order to steal the Kenneth Berg win away from him. He destroyed Wellesley Israel, who is an absolute monster. You don't get a head of hair like that if you're a pussy who can't get in a cage and fight. You know, only men that are oozing with testosterone have heads of hair like Wellesley Israel. This guy Aliskerov is a complete fraud, Brady. Minus 1,000, my ass. The bookies got it switched. We should have Tricoli minus 1,000 and Aliskerov plus 700. Tricoli is so good that he could fight in any weight class, any one of them. He was fighting at 155, Brady. He was fighting Diego Lima and Jacob Volkman at 155. And then he'll move up to 205 and shave some other bum's ass. He's so good. He's so good that people refuse to fight him. And it got to the point where they were like, Ikram Aliskerov is the only guy with enough balls to step into the cage with a guy in Trocoli who was an absolute bulldozer. This is the money-making opportunity of the decade. Antonio Trocoli money line plus 700. And Pete G is on his way to max bet Trocoli. You can thank me later. I'll put my Cash App in the description of all my videos this week while we just run to the window cashing Trocoli tickets.
Fair enough. Same stuff could have been said about Reyes this week. I mean, I think that's the worst comparison I think I've ever heard. I mean, Dominic Reyes arguably beat John Jones, and Trocoli, his last win in the last 7 years is against Bubba. No offense, Crystal. I'm sure you're a great guy, but that is just a horrible comparison.
And here's the other thing, dude. It's weird because Trocoli pulled out against, I don't even know if he pulled out of that fight against Umar Sy. It was almost like they were like, no, don't make the fight because he's going to get killed in there. There were even some rumors going around that this guy Trocoli hasn't even been in the gym in over a year. So it's just, this is bizarre. I mean, obviously I was being sarcastic about betting the Trocoli side.
Oh, you were.
The Ikram Aliskerov is one of the best mixed martial artists in the world. And he's fighting a guy that's got one fight in the last 5 years, has been suspended for anabolic steroids, doesn't even appear to be training, and was fighting at 155 pounds in the past.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
Bizarre.
I was able to get Ikram Trocoli under 1.5 rounds for minus 115. It's now minus 235 on Bet Online. That was 10 hours of movement. Yeah. So I was up early this morning, and I went to actually bet the under at minus 115 on Bovada, and I went to bet it, and it was gone. They completely took it off. So I would have had a bet on that as well, but they took it off. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, the under should be minus 2. It shouldn't have been minus 115. So I know a lot of people that got on that early in the week. Are the odds up on the fight? Yeah, minus 1,000 for Ikram, plus 700 for Trocoli, and it's not wide enough. I'm not going with Ikram. I'm going to go with Ikram. We got all in on Antonio Broccoli. Trocoli sends him into yeah. I mean, if Ikram does lose to Trocoli, he probably should retire. And that's just messed up. Bubba with a beanie would look like Brady. Come on. What are you talking? Come on. Is Wheezy being sarcastic? No, I think Wheezy thinks Trocoli should be minus 1,000.
He's a phenom.
Watch somebody actually take you serious and then get mad at you whenever Ikram.
No. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I'll if anybody does do that, I promise to post it on Twitter and be like, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have the dumbest person on the face of the planet."
You'd be surprised. There are some really dumb people out there, like some really, 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 really dumb people. By the way, shout out to Tapology. They have a bunch of ads. It went away. I was gonna shout them out. I guess it's pronounced. There it is, Booba, which is even worse. Which is even worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but yeah, I think it means retired.
Crystal's a lady. Problem with that? No. Man, Crystal's coming after me today.
No, I think she was coming after Mushroom, who said that Crystal is a lady's name, and she's like, "Yeah, I am a lady."
Oh, I thought she was mad at me for something. Under 0.5. Wheezy, if Trocoli doesn't show up, does the under 0.5 cash?
Yes. I think that's my understanding of it.
Then yes. Booba. There's no way it's actually pronounced Booba. Come on, it's Bubba, right? I don't know. I'm not Brazilian. I don't know. But all right. And Locoman says he's a lady as well, and it sounds like I guess people have some problems. People have some problems with me. Nothing's wrong with being a female. There's plenty of females out there, and I have no problem with them. So all good. Locoman shakes fist. All right, let's get this off the screen. We need to get our viewers up. We lost half our viewers. We went from almost 500 to only 85 people currently watching. Thanks to Bubba or Booba, whatever you want to call him, who is just terrifying looking. Like this is like he could play like a serial killer in a horror movie. I mean, this is a terrifying looking. This is something you'd see in a terrible dream. This Bubba. It's horrible. It's terrible. All right, Wheezy, where the heck are we? We are talking the main event. We have Tatsuro Taira going against Alex Perez. We have Tatsuro Taira, 24 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach, 15-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Alex Perez, he's 32 years old, 5'6" with a 65-inch reach. Taira is 8 years younger. He has a 1-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage. Perez, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He had a knockout win against Josefine Formiga. Submission loss to Davison Figueiredo. Submission loss to Alexander Pantoja. Decision loss against Muhammad Mokaev. Then a knockout win against Matheus Nicolau. As far as Taira, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Carlos Condolari. I believe that was his debut. He beat CJ Vergara by submission, Jesus Aguilar by submission, Edgar Chairez by decision, and then knocked out Carlos Hernandez his last time out. So one thing that absolutely has to be mentioned is the fact that Alex Perez went from the least active fighter in the UFC to now the most active fighter in the UFC. This is a guy that is certainly making up from last time. So that Davison Figueiredo fight was 3.5 years ago. Takes a massive layoff. He comes back against Muhammad Mokaev. That fight was 3 months ago. And then he fights Matheus Nicolau last month. And now, a month later, he is taking on Tatsuro Taira. So that is going to be 3 fights in the last 3 months, which is very, very interesting. And, one thing that comes to mind is like this weight cut's always been hard for Perez, but he's going to have to make this weight cut 3 times in 3 months, which I think is kind of interesting. But yeah, should be a really good test for Tatsuro Taira. Taira's went out there. He's passed every fight with flying colors. He's looked phenomenal. But this is a very, very big step up and a good test for the guy. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this main event?
Yeah, I mean, he's facing a guy who's challenged for gold here. And the names on Taira's resume, Carlos Candelario, CJ Vergara, Jesus Aguilar, Edgar Chairez, and Carlos Hernandez. The sum of the records of those guys at the UFC level is 8 wins and 9 losses. And now he's facing a guy that's 7-4 in the UFC in Alex Perez, who's currently on a 1-fight winning streak. But he's definitely looking a lot better since coming back and fighting Mokaev in a very close fight, almost beating that undefeated prospect. And then he beats a guy in Nicolau who's 7-2 in the UFC. So, I mean, I think it's a really impressive run that he's had these last 2 fights. It looks like he's turned back the clock a little bit, but he's going up against a guy that's 8 years younger. Tatsuro Taira's cage time in the UFC is about 50 minutes, and only 26% of that cage time is being spent at distance striking range. So almost 75% of his fights taking place in grappling positions, and Taira's winning 84% of those positions. And when he's at range, he's landing one more significant strike than he absorbs. He's landing at 63% accuracy, which has him at 25% better than the divisional average. And he's landed 2 knockdowns, landing a knockdown on 1.1% of the significant strikes that he's landed. So Taira is flashing some pretty good striking when he is standing. But man, oh man, when fights get to the ground, this guy's dominant. You see guys like, for instance, like Muhammad Mokaev, who Perez just fought. You look at a guy like Mokaev, he's getting like 8 takedowns per 15 minutes. Look at Taira. It's only 2.1. Once this guy gets you down, you stay there. You're not getting back up. His control, once he gets you to the ground, is phenomenal. He's getting his takedowns at a 41% clip, and he wins over 61% of his cage time controlling his opponents. So I think that this is a good spot for Taira here. Perez is a very good wrestler with very good takedown defense, but I love Taira's entries. He blends his striking and his takedown entries together very well, in my opinion. And the timing on his entries is just beautiful. So that when he does get you down, you're not getting back up because he's so efficient with how he enters and how he gets you to the ground. So yeah, Perez has had a nice little run here, and he's done it against really good grapplers like Nicolau and Makhachev, but Makhachev is more of a volume wrestler, not a control time guy. You know, he just doesn't fuck off and keeps wrestling. And Nicolau is not much of an offensive wrestler. He doesn't do it a lot. But when he does do it, he finds success and he can find submissions. I think Taira is a nice mix of the both in that when he does get you down, you stay there, and that he can advance to dominant positions and finish with submissions as well. So he wrestles more than a guy like Nicolau, and he's a lot more efficient once he gets to the ground than a guy like Makhachev. And I think that's going to be the difference in this fight. And I think that Perez isn't going to have a lot of success on the feet because the threat of the wrestling is always in the back of your head. So it makes Taira look like a better striker than he actually is. And Taira's the taller dude at 1 inch taller. And he's got a 5-inch reach advantage. He's 8 years younger, a lockdown grappler, a phenomenal prospect. I got to go with Tatsuro Taira here.
And one hell of a haircut. I mean, that's you don't see haircuts like that nowadays.
In Japan, you do, man.
Oh,
they got that straight ass hair. There's nothing that they can do with it. And you do see haircuts like that in Japan still. Kid's got a beautiful head of hair, in my opinion, and his grappling is even more beautiful.
I've never been to Japan, so I don't know.
Neither have I. I am not an expert.
Okay. So we have Taira opened up minus 250, currently minus 170. Alex Perez opened up plus 210, currently plus 145. The over under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 minus 170. The under 2.5 plus 140. Yeah, I mean, if Taira gets this fight down to the mat, there's a very good chance he's getting a sub. I mean, Alex Perez has been subbed how many times? Five times, yeah. So Taira could potentially get a sub. And on the feet, I think both guys have some solid power. Like even Taira has, been flashing some power. Knockdown, I think it was Candelario in that fight, and then also just completely wrecked what's his face as well. Or was that Candelario?
Well, he unanimous decision Candelario, but Vergara he subbed, Aguilar he subbed, Hernandez he knocked out on the ground.
He destroyed Hernandez, landed a big shot, and then followed up with some ground and pounds. So yeah, maybe an under. But the over is getting smashed, actually. But yeah, maybe like an under 3.5, 4.5 fight doesn't go something like that. I could see it maybe getting extended. But I think if Taira gets this fight down to the mat, it could be a wrap.
Especially a couple times, right? If he gets the back, stays there for 3.5 minutes, doesn't quite get the sub, but then gets to a dominant position again in the next round, that's when you start to see people really wear down. And that's when you see the chokes get sunk in.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some questions, Weezy, and then we'll head out of here. There's plenty of females out there, Brady 2020. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure there is.
Somewhere around half of us.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So yeah, I don't have a problem with anybody, actually. There's not one person out there I have a problem with, believe it or not. Alex will be on his third weight cut in 4 months. Taira coming out party. Yeah, that's something I thought about as well. Daniel's saying, I have Taira to win, but he has to get this fight to the ground earlier. Perez is going for that calf. Yeah, his calf kicks are nasty. Makhachev, Perez rematch, then the winner gets a title shot possibly. Yeah, that fight was close. A lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
Very close, yeah.
Nicolau's a fraud. I don't think Nicolau's a fraud. I just think his chin's a fraud. Nicolau's chin is a fraud, but I don't think he's a fraud. Taira's a badass. Japan will finally have a legit contender. Yeah, so far so good with Taira, but this is going to be a test, that's for sure. What else we got in the chat? Taira will get the next title. Wouldn't that be something? Taira getting the next title shot.
He could.
What? No, I was laughing at this comment.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Let's see. Andy's saying, great show, fellas. Come for the breakdowns and stay for the laughs. Good times. Always appreciate you, Andy. There you guys have it. UFC Vegas 93. I think it's going to be a very violent night. Uncle Weezy, what do you got planned for this week? Any special guest appearances? Anything going on?
Not that I know of in terms of no special guest appearances this week. I'm fucking fine with that. I got enough content to do anyways. Stat Diggers right here every week. We're going to do a full card breakdown. It'll probably get posted either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning to YouTube. Greasy 4-leg parlay on Friday. And as always, Brady, you and me, Wednesday night, probably 9 o'clock Eastern time this week. We're going to do probability. Which is for the Patreon members, $25 tier on my Patreon. We do subscriber only content where we go through the betting models for each and every fight and find the plus EV spots that are sticking out. We match them up with what our stylistic reads are, and we find the fattest props with the most potential on every single fight. So join up with the Patreon. It's a great community, and there's a lot of subscriber only content. I've been doing my full card breakdown just for the Patreon members and trying to work a shortened version of that to put out on YouTube for free. So join up with the Patreon, look for the regular amount of content this week, and let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 93. Thank you to all of you guys who hung out with us tonight. Great show. A lot of fun.
Yep, it was a lot of. I think it was too much fun, actually. I had too much fun. So next week we're gonna tone it down a little bit because I had too much fun tonight. So next week we're toning it down. We're cutting back a little bit on the fun. So yeah, full card breakdown video should be out tomorrow. Have to look into a couple more fights, a little bit more. And yeah, probability Wednesday with Wheezy, Friday, final thoughts, Saturday, best bet. It's the same content as usual. Last week I did so much content, man. It was rough. It was a 14 fight card. I did like 3 guest appearances. I was drained last week, but this week, no guest appearances, which I'm fine with. But yeah, so yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like on your way out, subscribe on your way out, and leave a comment. If you guys are watching on the replay, leave a comment. We do appreciate the comments, and we'll get back to pretty much every single one of them. Best of luck, guys. We'll talk to you soon, and see you later.